You're listening to The Jobbers, a podcast that sparks conversation for the average jobber. From wrestling to politics, we cover it all. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome. Today we have Jobbers Ben, the bus driver.
How we doing, everybody?
Luckily, we don't have Gabe the A-lister. Looks like a bus driver has scared him away.
Again.
Again. Simon was supposed to help join us, but being in the UK, he's a few hours, ahead of us, so sleep is a little bit more important. But you do have myself, the icon, Andrew. And we're going to actually be talking about the 2019 NFL Draft. We're going to kind of go over a general overview of each team and kind of give some analysis on the teams. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. We're going to start off with the AFC West, the number one team in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos, getting an A. I personally love this pick. Everything that they did was fantastic. The only kind of thing that stopped it from being an A+ was they traded up to get Drew Lock, but that didn't hurt them. It just didn't make them better. Love everything about it. Love everything about their picks. Drew Lock, to me at least, with John Elway and in that system, he's a Jay Cutler type player. Big arm. He's going to be able to get, sling the ball around and get it to the people that they need. The only issue is he's going to throw interceptions. But with that defense, who cares? They'll get the ball back. Noah Fant being number 20, I thought that was a great deal. Sorry, I apologize. The Steelers wanted to move up and select Devin Bush at number 10. The Broncos got a 2019 first-round pick, which ended up being Noah Fant. 2019 second-round pick, which they traded to the Bengals, which was number 52. And they got a third-round pick in 2020. Thought that was solid. I mean, you can't go wrong with what they got for moving down 10 spots. They got the best tight end that they needed. Other than that, Elway didn't overswing for Drew Lock, but he touched everything that they needed. Offensive line, they got an edge rusher to help, with Shane Ray not being as good as he ended up wanting to be. So for me, at least, this definitely got an A. Number 2 is the Los Angeles Chargers, and we gave them a B+.
Frick.
No worries, man. No worries.
Yeah.
It's always fun trying to bring stuff up on the computer while we're doing this. So many tabs to cycle through. What were your thoughts though on the Chargers, Ben?
The Chargers. I was kind of disappointed that Dexter Lawrence didn't fall to them because he seemed like a great fit for their 4-3 defense with Gus Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gus Bradley, but they ended up getting what I think was his second best choice in Tillery.
Well, for me at least,
Yeah.
I thought they did pretty decent. My biggest issue was they drafted Easton Stick. He doesn't match anything that Phillip Rivers does. Like height-wise, they're completely different. One's 6'5", 6'6", the other one's 6'1". One is very, mobile. He wants to run all over the place. Rivers just wants to stay in the pocket. He eats a lot of sacks. He hardly throws the ball away. To me, and Stick is great on the run. This would have been a better pick for Seattle to me at least. And other
Would
than
you
that,
say Easton?
Go ahead.
Would you say Easton Stick was drafted to push Cardale Jones?
I think he was picked to replace Cardale Jones because I think Cardale Jones has very limited upside, and the Chargers have figured that out.
Right.
I mean, it could be to push him out too. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Moving on, we're gonna go to number 3, Oakland Raiders. We gave them a C.
Honestly, you got to question. You got to question the Oakland Raiders. First round, first round. By first off drafting Clayton Farrell.
Right.
Uh, I think he's a solid player, but I don't think a lot of us thought he was a top five talent. And even with that said, he was one of the best front four pass rushers after Nick Bosa.
Right.
Then moving on to their next pick, Josh Jacobs. I'm personally not a fan of taking running backs in the first round. I feel like running backs are you can find a good running back anywhere in the draft and get good value out of it.
Right. Like a
But
Kareem Hunt in round 3.
Kareem Hunt, Seattle drafting Chris Carson in the seventh round.
Yeah. How about Rashard Penny?
Shut up.
Too soon.
Yeah. With that said, Josh Jacobs is considered the best running back, so I kind of understand them drafting him when Marshawn Lynch said he's not returning.
Right. Now, my issue though is when you have you take a running back in the first round, you expect Melvin Gordon, you expect Leonard Fournette, and I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to be either of those. He might be Eckert, which is still pretty good, but for me at least, the one thing that I kept hearing was they were focusing more on the personality side. They're more worried about the character of the player, and what that move to Vegas was what they were really focused on. They didn't want to bring in Josh Allen, who I heard was a bad character person. Not saying that he's a bad person, but he wouldn't do very well off the field in Vegas, if you get what I'm saying. So,
Right.
and they don't want an Alden Smith, part 2.
Alden Smith would be terrible in that environment.
God, wouldn't it be so perfect too?
Yes.
We could just see all the damage he can do in one night. Kind of
Hall of Fame talent, but just
and that's why I understand what the Raiders did. They needed an every down back, and Josh Jacobs gets that for them. They needed a guy that they could rely on the edge, and Clyde Farrell was that guy. So, I mean, they got who they wanted.
yeah.
Sorry.
I'll also say the drafting day 2 and day 3 they didn't do that bad. I thought Hunter Renfro was a good pick for him, and
Absolutely.
I thought Foster Monroe was a pretty good one as well.
Well, Renfro, and what they really do with Carr now is they're setting him up to either succeed or fail, and I kind of feel like they're setting him up to fail with the offensive coordinator the way it's going and John Gruden. But we'll see.
Yeah, them well, they let go of Kelsey Osemele.
Yeah, they traded him to the Jets.
Yeah, but they also at the same time you got Trent Brown at left tackle. That's left tackle. You still got a whole the left guard situation.
Absolutely. And how good is an undrafted free agent or how good is a backup in the league for the last 4 years going to do there? Not going to be better than Osemele.
Yeah, and was Tom Cable? He's going to use a turnstile.
Yeah, Ole. We're just letting you go right on through. Number 4, also got a C. I think when you hear the grade, they both got a C. It sounds like, oh, they did evenly. I think Kansas City, if they're borderline C minus, whereas Oakland was borderline C plus. I definitely think there is a big gap between Kansas City and Oakland, but they did get a C, and they're number 4 in the West.
My concern is their situation was Tyreek Hill. They only drafted one receiver in Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, and that was like a reactionary pick.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's a guy. Let's get him.
Yeah, I feel like you got to be concerned. Aaron was not really having a receiver option, receiving option other than that guy. I know you got Travis Kelce.
Who would you have gone with instead of Hardman? Anybody?
They were at 24.
Well, you still had you had Paris Campbell, Riley Ridley, and then obviously DK was still on the board.
Wasn't Miles Boykin available then?
Boykin went to the Ravens, I believe. Correct?
He went to third round. You could have got Miles Boykin, in my opinion.
Yeah, same guy. Except for
I
Boykin's
feel
faster.
faster.
Heck,
Yeah, I feel like he would have been in a better fit in Andy Reid's offense.
yeah, yeah,
And and also they didn't have a first round pick, but they traded that for Frank Clark, so you can consider Frank Clark being their first round pick.
yeah. And proving commodity over draft picks is always big, and we've talked about that at length, during our pre-show stuff. And I think they got their value from Frank Clark. I do. They So they didn't get Rap, and Simon talked about this in the rankings as we went through. They didn't get Rap, and they didn't get DK. They went Hardman and Thornhill instead. And
Yeah,
I mean, sure, and Saunders isn't bad. Kalen Saunders isn't bad, and he's going to help bring over that 4-3 defense and help them kind of shore that defensive lineup and create better options for Frank Clark. But now I feel like and we'll get to Seattle here in a little bit, I feel like Seattle now has won that Frank Clark trade. Not just the money and the picks and everything, but what they did with those picks.
yeah, and we'll get to Seattle eventually, but they started out with four draft picks to start out, and they ended up getting 11 players. I don't
Which
know.
is one less draft pick than the most, which was the
Yeah,
New York Giants.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't worry, guys. We're going to get to it. So the AFC South, we're going to move on to there. So if you missed the rankings, Denver was number one with an A. The Chargers were number two with a B plus. Oakland number three with a C, and Kansas City four with a C. AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars, we gave them an A plus. I know this was something that we kind of all bounced around a lot. Me, you, Gabe, and Simon, we all had different opinions. Simon, the big Jags fan, was more adamant that they got an A instead of an A plus. But what do you think happened with that, Ben?
Uh, well, well, we did talk about the Giants. The Giants really helped them out in the first round,
You bet they did.
letting Josh Allen fall to their lap, and and
Well,
Josh Allen in that defense is going to be very very great.
you're in tune with David Gettleman. For some reason, you're like you get the guy because you called it.
Yeah,
They drafted, big spoiler, they drafted Daniel Jones number six, and the only person who thought he was going to be dumb enough to get picked at six was Ben. And what happened? He got picked at six. So my question for you is Gettleman that dumb, or do you think he saw the same thing that the Raiders saw in Allen, where maybe he wouldn't be a good fit in New York because of the off the field personality stuff?
uh, I was just listening to a little bit of Dave Gettleman and during in the press conference,
Hmm.
and his reasoning for drafting Daniel Jones was he was afraid that the Redskins and the Broncos were gonna pick him at before 17. That's what he literally said. And obviously, I think that's a bunch of hogwash.
He's trying to cover
That's,
his butt.
he's called. But Josh Allen might have a character issue, but I don't think you can and turn down um your biggest need and the best player available at the time, and that was Josh Allen.
I agree.
Um,
I agree.
especially when you trade Olivier Vernon to the Browns.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, well, we'll get to the Giants. Don't worry, we'll get to the Giants.
yes.
Hot topic. But we're gonna get back to Jacksonville. Um, obviously, Josh Allen. Any other picks that you liked from Jacksonville?
Their first two picks overall, they got great value with Josh Allen. And in the second round, they got Jawan Taylor, who a lot of people were surprised that he fell out of the first round.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm surprised he fell out of the top five.
yeah, yeah. And so if they say injuries was the reason why he fell, but if he's healthy, they got a heck of a player on that offensive line.
I absolutely agree. I think Allen and Taylor are the two biggest steals of this draft. I mean, I can't even look at another team and say, oh, they stole so and so when everybody else was just it's no doubt Josh Allen, Juwan Taylor, best two picks of for me at least. But I will say I think the most underrated pick, and we're going to see it with Jacksonville on their new offense, is Gardner Minshew the second. I love his arm. He doesn't have the strongest arm, and I understand that. But if you look at Nick Foles, he doesn't have the strongest arm as well. He's very accurate, and he's able to throw on the run. He's able to move the pocket, and he's able to stand tall. Gardner, not 6'5", 6'6", like Foles. He's 6'1", but he hangs in the pocket. He's very poised in the pocket. When he does need to move, he's like Wilson. We talk about this all the time. Russell Wilson, when he rolls out, he's not rolling out to run. He's rolling out to buy time to throw the ball. And Minshew does that really well. My biggest concern for him is I want to see his accuracy in 30 throws max. 30 throws max, because at Washington State he was throwing 50 times a game. And you throw 50 times, you're going to complete at least 60% of them. I mean, we'll be honest here. Probably 20 of them will probably dump off to your backfield. But you only throw 30 balls max in a game, maybe 20 depending on the offense with Leonard Fournette. I want to see if he's able to do it, because if he can, he makes all the right reads. He doesn't make bad decisions, and I think he's going to be perfect for this team moving forward. I think that's their quarterback of the future if they work him right.
You're really that confident in Gardner?
You know what, man? I think that if Greer would have gone here, even at if he'd have been the 5th round pick or a 4th round pick for Jacksonville, I would have probably said that was the best pick of the draft, because they have an absolute need for quarterback. I think Finley will get to him. He landed in the right spot. I think he would have been bad here.
Right.
I think Daniel Jones would have been a bad pick here. But Greer,
bad choice anywhere.
We'll get to it. I have thoughts. But Minshew and Greer, they're very similar in how they throw. They're very smart. They dissect the defense. When they come up and they do their pre-snap reads, they're like 3 steps ahead of you in chess. It's like, I know what you're doing. We're good, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. But the arm accuracy has to be there consistently, and the arm strength just isn't there. So, and that's why I like Foles being in Jacksonville, because he doesn't have the biggest arm, and so they have to scheme around that. And I think you're going to see a lot of dump passes like what the Patriots do with Edelman, but to D. Westbrook, who's much faster, with DJ Chark, who's much faster. And I think that's going to be all the recipes for them to be in the AFC Championship.
Good point.
Well, moving on to oh gosh, where were we at? Sorry, Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
You guys took my heart. Number 2, Tennessee Titans got an A, and Ben, you wrote on this one. If you want to give us a quick little bit about it.
Yeah. So originally I questioned the Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
Simmons choice. My initial reaction, I wasn't a fan of it because of the off the field incident.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking at the press conference, people will say what they want, but felt like he was really sincere,
right,
here about.
And we weren't even
moving forward.
We weren't even aware of it when it first happened. I mean, who was it? I think Gabe sent it over to us and kind of let us know what was going on.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool that the Titans owner, Amy Adams Strunk, is 100% supportive of Jeffrey, saying that he deserves a second chance.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really great moment there. But at the same time, he's a top five talent. Lance Zierlein on NFL.com compared him to a guy like Ndamukong Suh. Mm-hmm. So I guess him falling in 19 ain't is good value there. At the same time, I mean, towards ACL in February, or he trained for the NFL Combine.
Right.
So you could be without him for this season. But moving on from that,
yeah, I would say, to be honest with you, I know Simmons was a good pick. I'd say
Yeah.
AJ Brown for me was a great pick as well. Again, we gave them an A, and I think it carried all the way through. I mean, you have Monty Hooker out of Iowa was picked in the fourth round. DeAndre Walker, who I was really high on, was picked in the fifth round. David Long Jr. was the sixth and last pick that they had. Uh, he's definitely going to be a special team starter, but he might work his way into some pass rushing roles. But for me at least, AJ Brown, now opposite Corey Davis. Uh, I honestly think he is better in the slot, and that's where they need him at. But the problem is Adam Humphries, the guy they just signed from Tampa Bay, is a slot receiver.
Slot guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
and to be honest, I think they're gonna move Humphreys to the outside, even though he's making more money than Brown. I just think you're gonna maximize more from Brown being in the slot than wasting his talent on the outside. And he's not a bad outside receiver. He's just not DK Metcalf.
right. Right.
And to be honest, I think AJ Brown will have a better. Well, we'll get to Seattle again, but DK going to the right spot. I think if he would have gone anywhere else, DK probably wouldn't have had isn't probably going to have as good a career as AJ Brown. But DK landed in the right spot, so this is going to be a big. They're going to be linked, and it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. I'll add that I really like the draft pick in Nate Davis.
Oh,
Davis, the guard from North Carolina,
Charlotte.
North Carolina, Charlotte.
Mhm.
He's got a really good potential to start in a guard this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. He's a good run blocker. He's a little undersized. So bull rush. He could be just what's that word? Susceptible or
Susceptible. Yeah.
yeah to bull rushes.
Yeah.
But he's going to add competition to the offensive line for the Tennessee Titans.
Well, and they need it because I feel like they've gotten complacent, kind of like how the Cowboys did. They were deemed the best. How much should you pay your offensive line? And the reason why you don't pay your offensive line quarterback money is the Cowboys and the Titans reason right there, because they have one good year as a unit, and they say we're the most valuable thing in football, and they absolutely are. You know, teams would not be as good as they are if they didn't have the offensive line that they have, but the problem is they're so reliant on each other, and if one goes down, the ship doesn't sail the same way. So,
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
so I hope so. I hope that works out because I love when small
Yeah.
college guys end up being in the NFL and taking over, and especially on the offensive line.
I'll mention you mentioned Amani Hooker. I think he
Steal,
has a potential
big
to
steal.
start
Yeah,
on that defense.
absolutely. Yeah,
It's him next to Byard. Was that his name?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. You have a nice little tandem there. Hooker, very. If he was on a better team, do you think if he wasn't on Iowa, if he was on Alabama, do you think he'd have been a top 10 pick?
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of those safeties you see in Alabama, the secondary, or they typically go in the first round. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the scenario that would have taken place.
Right. He measures out. He had all the stats. He literally the only bad part was he went to Iowa. Iowa's defense was terrible.
Right.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and move on. We're gonna get into the number three in the AFC South with an A minus. Indianapolis Colts. I know this is kind of unexpected, but the Colts ended up putting away a pretty solid draft. And Ben, you wrote on this one in our rankings here too. Do you have anything to add to this?
Oh, I'd say Chris Ballard is one of the best talent evaluators in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but yeah, they traded down. They traded out of the first round, and they ended up getting in the second round two picks. I think will be really good. One's Rock Houston, cornerback from Temple.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great name, by the way. Yeah, he fits the mold on on their defense. And so now they want to play corner.
Hmm.
Or then and one of the other second round picks they had was Paris Campbell.
Great
Campbell.
pick.
And
Yeah.
for that offense, and it's to help T.Y. Hilton out. That guy is going to be explosive. Explosive. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on special teams.
He's
Teams as
gonna
a
do
returner.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm looking at CBS right now, and I think they said it pretty well. Uh, he can flat out fly, and he was misused at Ohio State, and I 100% agree. I think he would have been a first round. He has first round talent, no doubt, but his stats say third round pick, second round pick.
He was
Uh,
drafted in the second round, so
yeah, right. And so I feel like you kind of steal it from there. And him matched up with Hilton, they're basically the same receiver. So if he can put out that same kind of production, or even just take away from Hilton being double teamed, I think you've already won with that pick because now you have two legitimate receivers and you have Eric Ebron in the middle. That offense is going to be legitimate and something to be very scared of. Um, you mentioned that the Colts did not have a first round pick. They actually traded their first round pick to the Redskins, who we'll get to, and that was pick number 26. They in return got a 2019 second round pick from the Redskins, who they then traded to the Browns, and then also a 2020 second round pick. We'll move forward after that. Uh, Number 4, Houston Texans,
tell us how you really feel.
D minus. First of all, I gave them an F minus. Simon talked me into a D minus. So make your jokes, make them now.
You got a passing grade.
No, they did not. That's not a passing grade. I don't care who you are. It was a passing grade. That is not a passing grade. um, Thoughts on their picks?
um, well, I think in the first round they panicked because the Eagles. Cause that all started. We'll talk about the Eagles later, but the Eagles traded up with the Ravens to go 22,
And they took our
and
guy.
they took Andre Dillard. So I believe what happened here is the Houston Texans panicked and drafted a guy that's a left tackle, and Titus Howard. I didn't even know who he was.
Um, Alabama State, sir. They had a left-handed quarterback, so
Yeah,
he was a right tackle in college. Doesn't know how to go up against left. It doesn't know how to go up against the right ends. But okay, anyway, sorry. You do
yeah.
you. you
There's something that Josh Sitton said about because he played left guard for most of his career.
hmm
Here,
You have to
I
do
gotta find.
everything opposite.
Yeah,
You're having to mirror your image when you normally take your. And I'm not an offensive lineman, but I watch them and I see them practice and I know a lot of their drills. And when you take your first step back when you're doing pass block, if you're playing right tackle, your first step back is with your right foot because you want to be able to
yeah.
get to the outside. So now you change that to the left side, and your first step's going to be the right. You're stepping on your guard depending on where your splits are at.
Right.
Oh,
So I found the quote from Josh Sitton.
yeah.
Because last year they asked him if about changing to right guard,
hmm
and they asked him how he feels like, and I quote, it said it's like trying to wipe your ass with the other hand. It's absolutely right.
It is 100% correct because what I mean, just oh, my brain it hurts, like my
But,
heart it hurts.
like, as a Texan fan, or what's your status on that? But how do you feel about the rest of the draft for
So,
Houston?
Houston, I wrote you a breakup letter that we'll be posting on the Jobbers website, Twitter, Facebook. Uh, we are no longer together, and like Taylor Swift said, we will never ever get back together. Um, I love Deshaun Watson. I love J.J. Watt. I've been to a lot of Texan games when I lived in Houston. I've seen a lot of cool concerts in your stadium. I loved you. I loved you. I got so much crap for being a Texans fan in Oregon. And what do you give me? You give me Titus Howard, Lonnie Johnson, Max Sharpening, my favorite, Kale Waring, Xavier Howard or Crawford. Sorry, CBS messed us up because they didn't expect this guy to get drafted. They had nothing on him. Uh, they put him as a cornerback from Michigan. He's from Central Michigan. They don't even have height stats on him until today. And then Colin Galipsia, who was a linebacker who was turned into a fullback.
Why do they need a fullback?
Because Lamar Miller's slow enough, and they figure a fullback's got to be a little bit faster, maybe.
But don't they have that big Texas running back?
Dante Foreman, and guess what, Bill O'Brien? You don't use him right either. So
Just line them up at fullback.
Texas. I love Texas. I have a big Longhorn tattooed on my chest, and I love Houston. I'm still a huge Astros fan and Rockets fan. But you know what, Texans? We're not doing this again. I'm sorry. The only thing that and Simon talked me off the ledge. I think the only thing that made them a D minus rather than an F minus. Charles Aminuau. I don't know if that's how you say his name. But he is 6'5", 280 pounds, a pure quarterback sacking defensive lineman on the interior. This guy, if you put Clowney on the end, you put J.J. Watt on the end, you put this guy square in the middle for 2 downs, that's your guy. Great in pass rushing situations. He has difficulty disengaging when playing a true nose tackle, because in a 3-4 you're really going nose tackle. Difficult time disengaging there, but he's still able to at least move a lineman into the running back, which is, you think about how crazy strong that is when he was going up against Cody Glenn and these guys in the Big 12, who a lot of their offensive linemen get drafted because we're all pass blockers. But he's able to move the lineman into the running back to stop the hole. So, hey, I can't disengage. I'm just going to move you there. Does need to work on the finesse side of it, but I think after 2 years with J.J. Watt and Clowney kind of helping him finesse everything and learning how to do that, I think he's a solid defensive lineman that is going to surprise a lot of people. But really quick, though, I also would like to propose a trade. We will trade all of our picks, except for Charles, for a future 7th round pick to any team. Just one. We don't want a bunch of other ones. Just one. And you take the cap space. Moving on, we're going to do the AFC North. We have the Cincinnati Bengals. They are no longer the Bungles. They are number 1. And the AFC North, they got an A. And I did go on to write about this one because I am absolutely in love with the first draft that Zach Taylor did. Thought they did fantastic. And for personal reasons, I'm not a big Bengals fan because, burned by a friend and he happens to be a Bengals fan. But for me at least, I really thought they did a great job. I didn't really understand, me and Ben, when we were going through the first round, which we were posting up tonight. We talked about round 1. Jonah Williams, for me, didn't make sense. He was getting beat by Clyde Farrell. He was getting beat by a lot of guys who had no business beating him. But I think over time, he was the right pick. Because then you go back, you get Drew Sample at the 2nd round pick. They went ahead and took Michael Jordan, not the Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan from the Ohio State. I think CBS gives him a D+. I think he's a lot better than that. I think he's going to be a really big guard, and he's very, very quick. He's that hiccup speed. The only difference is he's a lot He's slower once you get out of that hiccup speed. For a tackle, you need to continue that speed going. Whereas a guard, you can slow down because you're just paving the way for your runners to go through. But the best pick for me definitely has to be um, Ryan Finley, quarterback from North Carolina State. He is a better version of Andy Dalton to me. Great accuracy. He's able to throw the ball deep. Not the biggest arm, but he's able to throw it deep. He does kind of rely on rhythm kind of passing, as in, hey, AJ Green, I know after you make your break, I got about 2 steps before you're on your way to get into this ball. Somebody throws him off that rhythm, he kind of breaks down a little bit. That's where Greer and Manchu are a lot better at mentally and poise wise, but that's all stuff you can teach. Um, Ben, you have anything to add to Cincinnati?
Um, the other thing I'm curious about is Jonah Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So Williams is where he's going to be lining up
Left
because
tackle.
you got well, yeah, yeah, but you got Cordy Glenn.
Cordy Glenn's
Since
what? 30?
he's a left. Um, he's 29.
29?
I turned 30 in September, but
Yeah, you might have him at right tackle. Would Jonah Williams be a better right tackle than a left tackle?
yeah, yeah. It's also another lineman they drafted. They drafted season ago. They drafted Billy Price from Ohio State.
Yeah.
And
And
so
he kind of came around after the injury, so he didn't play the worst, but he can always
yeah,
get better.
yeah. So that's just I'm just curious so where they're gonna plug Jonah Williams because the questions are whether he's a guard, if he's a tackle, which side.
Well, Price is a center.
He's a center.
Yeah.
I believe he can play guard as well. Oh,
Let's take a look. Yeah, he played center last year for Cincinnati. Let's see how he did. Just hit up the old Pro Football Reference. He started 10 games. Hmm, come on, give me some stats.
it doesn't really tell me anything.
Yeah, doesn't really tell you much. Only had 5 penalties on the year out of 10 games. That's pretty good. Only one holding call. Yeah, I mean, for me at least, I see some solid there. I mean, it would be nice if they had a Zietler, if they had somebody in the guard situation, but you look at the Bengals offensive line, it's really coming together and it's going to set
Oh,
up the Zach Taylor offense pretty well, don't you think?
it should. It should. It's something that you want. On they also had Bobby Hart on the roster, so that's who was their starting right tackle last season ago.
Right.
So I feel like this year he's Jonah Williams is probably a left guard.
Think he's going to be left guard.
I think he's gonna be left guard for him.
Yeah, Bobby Hart, 24 years old. How did you do, Mr. Hart? Started 16 games. Didn't really. Yes, no. Yep, he was definitely the number one on your team. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, maybe they move Hart to guard. Maybe that's what they end up doing. Um, but just kind of looking at their roster, they really don't have much when it comes to offensive linemen. Guard Clint Bowling, I think, was their starter last year.
Yeah, that's correct.
They only have three true guards, and they have one. Trey Hopkins bounces between guard and center, but he's just kind of a guy. Westerman, I mean, Westerman and Redmond, they don't seem like they're much. They're kind of just there. You have Rod Taylor and John Miller, also kind of just guys. Um, for me, at least, I don't. He has to start, right? I mean, he has to start.
Yeah,
There's
he's
no way around it.
yeah, yeah. It's like I said, and I don't think it's gonna be a tackle this year. It's got to be guard
Yeah.
unless they move on with somebody next season down the line.
Right, and you never know. They could, like I said, they could move Hart into the middle and just leave Jonah Williams at right tackle. And I mean, I think he could be an All-Pro at right tackle in a couple of years, no problem. So we're going to go ahead and move on to number 2 in the AFC North. So the Bengals got an A. Baltimore barely gets an A minus. And Ben, I know you got a lot to say about the Ravens draft here.
So what I really liked is they went offensive heavy this go round. Kind of a difference with Ozzie Newsome not being involved. Yeah, it was their first round pick. They went with Marquise Brown, Mr. Big Chest's cousin. And, yeah, and he's a speed guy that's going to take the top off any defense. And then in the later on in the third round, they got Miles Boykin.
Yeah.
Like you're giving your young quarterback targets that are potentially playmakers in this Ravens offense.
Yeah, dude, they're home run hitters. Uh,
Yeah,
Brown is 5'9", 166, quicker than crap. Miles Boykin, still quicker than crap, and he's 6'4", 220.
yeah. I didn't write this on the report, but they also drafted Jalen Ferguson, edge rusher, edge player there,
Doesn't
and that's a
doesn't he have the most sacks in NCAA history? Is that correct?
I believe so.
I'll
Oh,
give it
and
a look.
uh, it, you got to remember the Green Bay Packers took Zadarius Smith away from Baltimore, so this was a good replacement. And yeah, he did set the career sack record in the 2018 Hawaii Bowl.
Yep.
Oh, it's 45 sacks total
So,
overall in his career.
and you mentioned guys like they got Ferguson in the third round. They got Boykin in the third round. My biggest one that we'll get to a bunch of them because there's a bunch on here. The only bad pick, and that's why I think it was stopped them from an A, was their sixth round pick in McSorley. But Justice Hill out of Oklahoma State, holy crap, that's gonna be great for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely. The running game in a season ago was pretty spectacular
Hmm.
for the most part. Was Gus Edwards? They traded for Montgomery at some point. I
They had
don't
Alex
remember. He was
Collins.
Alex Collins. That's right. But getting Justice Hill involved. They just signed Mark. They signed Mark Ingram.
Hmm.
Ingram. So
Now,
it's
I'm not saying in any way Justice Hill is as good as Alvin Kamara. Not. I'm not. That's apples and oranges. Um,
yeah.
but Hill has a lot of the same. it, they're natural runners. When you watch them, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Because Ingram did great with Kamara in the backfield, and Hill's going to do great with Ingram in the backfield now because they can just they can toss him out to catch passes. They can put him in the slot. They have him listed at 5'10". I think he's more 5'11", 210. He definitely has the ability to play receiver, and he did at Oklahoma State because Gundy and the way he runs his offense. Um, but Hill, I think, was a big pickup. Anybody else that you were huge on in this?
Um, Pretty much the top of the draft was what I was the most
Hmm.
impressed with. It yeah, that's what I liked about it was they typically see them always retooling the defensive side of the football, but in this case they went out and put
An offense.
put an offense for Lamar Jackson to work with.
Well, and they lost C.J. Mosley as well, and I mean, I'm kind of surprised they didn't try to go for somebody to fill that out. You know, they kind of need a, a middle linebacker.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Now that you say that, I kind of completely forgot. C.J. Mosley went to the Jets.
Yep.
That's yeah. I'm trying to look at their inside backer situation, and I
Well,
haven't heard of a single one of these guys.
yeah, I'm trying to piece it together myself, and it just kind of.
Matt Thomas,
um.
Kenny Young.
Price played a little bit last year. But you're
Eh,
not gonna move. You're not gonna move somebody from the outside into the inside. I mean, free agency maybe.
who would be left at this point? Uh,
Let's take a look. Those are undrafted free agents. That's not what I wanted.
who? Huh.
Let's take a look. Inside linebacker.
Oh, Zach Brown. Zach Brown's
Oh,
a free agent still.
yep. Jordan Hicks is still. Nope, he signed with the Cardinals.
Manti
Perriman.
Te'o.
Oh, please no. He might bring his fake girlfriend with him.
Yeah.
Zach Brown's there. Patrick, I'm gonna murder your name, dude. I'm sorry. On Wasawar. Um, he was a Raven last year, so he was tendered by the Ravens. So he'll at least stick around, and he knows that defense.
Uh,
The knock on him is terrible with tackling, but terrific in coverage. So, um, anybody else? Josh Bynes. Brandon Marshall went to the Raiders.
I might go Gerald Hodges. The only two guys I'm thinking of if you're going free agent is Zach Brown and Gerald Hodges.
Yeah,
Uh, just because of speed, and those guys are speed guys for the most part.
right. The biggest thing for them though, they need people who can tackle. I know that's a big issue for them. Is C.J.
Zach,
Mosley was such a hard tackler and consistent tackler as well.
yeah,
Um, where there was I want to talk about McSorley for a second.
that's
Uh,
right. Yeah,
personally, I thought this was a terrible pick. And I think it was a pick to block McSorley from going to somebody else. And if so, shame on you, Baltimore, for not letting this kid have a good career. Um, so they want him to. People have been trying to get him to work out at corner. So he's not slow. He's actually pretty fast. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's a great athlete. Uh, the comp on him, actually, funny enough, is Lamar Jackson. He just isn't as fast as Jackson, but the accuracy is the same. The arm power is the same. Jackson's 6'5" compared to McSorley at 6 foot. So you got to ask yourself, is it a good pick for them? And I say no, because you already have one project quarterback who needs all of your attention from a guy. We looked him up, James whatever. Uh, not
Urban,
what was that?
James Urban.
James Urban, and he was, quote, the quarterback's coach in Philadelphia for 2 years with Andy Reid when he coached Don McNabb in '09 and then Michael Vick in 2010. We all know with Andy Reid, that's not true. James Urban was just a guy that had the title. And then he went to Cincinnati where he went from quarterback's coach with one of the best offensive minds to wide receivers coach for the next 6 years. So there's something to me missing out of that. And I think you have somebody who doesn't know the quarterback position or knows how to make a rookie excel, like a Zach Taylor, like a uh, Sean McVay, like an Andy Reid. And I feel like Sean Payton's another one, and you're just wasting the talent. I would have loved to see him go to New Orleans. I thought that would have been a spot on, perfect position for them, given the height that Drew Brees is at 6 foot, and they obviously helped Drew Brees get his mechanics back with his shoulder injury, and I just bad pick.
If you went to the Saints, though, you would be playing special teams at some point.
Hey, you never know, man. That might help him out. Hey, it's doing wonders for Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
So moving on after the A- from the Ravens, we got number 3. That would be the Cleveland Browns. We gave them a B plus. I mean, they didn't have a first round pick, but you got Odell Beckham, so who cares?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Kind of have to. You kind of have to consider that first round pick
Right.
they used is OBJ. Yeah, you lining him up with Jarvis Landry, the best friends.
And Njoku at tight end. That's amazing.
Yeah, and so not having a first round pick, you got to. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, that's got to be a concern. Not really. Teams just let Greedy Williams fall to the Cleveland Browns' lap.
Right.
Very surprised Greedy Williams. I think you're very surprised Greedy Williams fell to the second round. You had him as the best cornerback.
I agree. The knock on him I keep hearing is, oh, he can't tackle. Oh, he can't tackle. Tackling in the NCAA is so much different than in the NFL. In the NFL, you can get away with a lot more, and they teach you how to tackle. The Sea Chickens, as much as I hate them, they are notorious for teaching how to tackle properly and do the rugby style. So you're talking about something that is taught to people who have been in this league for years, and they're learning it. You have a guy coming in from the NCAA who is an amazing athletic talent and an amazing mind at the defensive backside, and you're telling me he can't learn how to tackle? Blasphemy. I'm like, how? I can't say 32 teams passed on him because not everybody had a first round pick, and Cleveland was the only one smart enough to draft the guy. Like,
yeah.
But then
Freddie Kitchens in the phone call did give Grady Williams some crap, saying, "We need you to tackle a little bit, man."
I love Kitchens. I've never seen any of his interviews or anything, but just from the stuff that I hear about him, fantastic.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. I'll also mention on NFL Network, one of the hosts was giving him a little crap for having so many LSU guys. He's like, "You better get some Alabama players, or else you're not going to be welcome there." He's like, well, if those LSU players played better in high school, they'd probably be in Alabama.
Hey man, he's not wrong. LSU isn't the worst, but they're not Alabama right now.
Yeah. Other than the Greedy Williams, I'll mention I really liked Mac Wilson.
Yeah.
Wilson. What I was surprised. I just started watching his tape real recently for the most part, and some guys had him at a second, third round.
Well,
and he fell.
When he was a
fifth.
freshman, they pegged him as the best linebacker for his draft class.
Yeah, and on tape it kind of shows. It's more of a consistency issue, I think.
Okay.
Because if you watch on tape, he does have how he runs is fluid.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just he has an instinct for the football. He can make good reads, great tackler. Yeah, I think he's gonna develop well.
Yeah. I will say I really do like Red Wine from Miami. I think that is where they were last year with Jabril Peppers. I figured they kind of wised up and moved on. He doesn't fit what they want to do, but he fits what the Giants want to do, and that's why they were so willing to give him up. But Redwine is a good one. He's not only going to be a box defender, but he's able to drop back into the deep coverage where Peppers kind of struggles at, where Landon Collins struggled at times. But Landon Collins obviously got a lot better at that. So at least Peppers is sort of a plug and play because they put Collins down in more as a linebacker than a true safety. But come on, why are you drafting a kicker in the 5th round?
I mean, did he not watch the first 3 games with Zane Gonzalez?
There are other kickers that are available. You're telling me that a current NFL kicker, Robbie Gould, right? Okay, he doesn't want.
He's holding out.
He doesn't want to stay in San Francisco. Maybe he wants to go to Cleveland. Hey, Cleveland, we'll go ahead and send you a pick to get that guy off your hands. We'll send you a 6th round pick for him, San Francisco. Yeah. I'm pretty sure somebody should have offered a little bit more to get him, especially Cleveland, if you're gonna draft a freaking kicker. Ugh. Moving on. My heart.
Well, I will say this. Yeah. Was that being said about kickers? I'm surprised Matt Bryant hasn't been signed with any team yet.
Right. Wouldn't you take Matt Bryant over an unproven kicker?
Yeah, I don't care if he's 43. He's been the most consistent. He actually started his career in Tampa for the most part.
Well, and you think about this, though. Adam Vinatieri, look at his age, and it's not slowing him down. And sure, Matt Bryant got hurt a little bit last year, but, it was the Atlanta Falcons. They were all kind of playing hurt.
Yeah.
Ugh. God, Cleveland. You do so well.
Was Justin Tucker? No, Justin Tucker was undrafted. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. UT. It's my boy. Love UT. Anyway, so number 3 was Cleveland. They got a B+. Number 4, the Pittsburgh Steelers got a C- from us. And Ben, do you see them being a C- draft like the rest of us, or are you kind of a little higher on them or lower? We made this decision without you, by the way. I remember when this came through.
Okay, yeah. I honestly, just to be honest, I didn't really pay attention to the Steelers draft.
Because it was non-existent.
Yeah, they traded up for Devin Bush.
Big reach, but, not like he wouldn't have been there.
And at the same time, Tampa took the other Devin.
Devin White, the better.
Yeah, the better Devin.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know.
They did give up the number 20 pick and the number 52 overall pick and a 2020 third round pick. So the cost, to me, the cost was too much to move up 10 spots to get somebody who is probably going to fall to you anyways. Because you think about who is picked in between there. Let's just go to the first round here. Go to all teams. We're going Jonah Williams to Cincinnati. Not a big need at linebacker there. Rashawn Gary to Green Bay. Again, they needed defensive line help after losing Muhammad Wilkerson and all them guys. Christian Wilkins to Miami. They have no need for linebacker. They got who they wanted. Atlanta Falcons, they went offensive line, which they needed. Haskins to Washington, that was a need. Brian Burns to Carolina, they needed an edge rusher, not a middle guy. They already have Luke Kuechly. Maybe the Giants at 17, but they got a guy that they really wanted in Dexter Lawrence. And then after that, the Vikings and the Titans, they have their linebackers sewed up. So, you're only looking at maybe New York, maybe Green Bay taking him. Is it worth giving up all of that for 10 spots?
Probably not.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm still bitter about Super Bowl 40, so I don't really have much to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, and it's not that he's not
Yeah,
talented. Don't get me wrong. He's a talented linebacker, but it just feels like an overreach to me. And, that's about all I can say about that pick. Um, Justin Lane, actually, which was a surprise for me, the Michigan State cornerback, 2 years ago looked like he was going to be the first pick cornerback wise in the NFL draft. But he has great talent, but I don't know what happened. Mentally, he just kind of fell off, and he got picked in the third round. So I thought that was probably their best pick of this draft. Yeah, other than that,
yeah,
Benny Snell, that's another one. You have James Conner now as your feature back. Benny Snell's going to be a good little running back. He fits that smaller, undersized but bulky running back who's patient and powerful at the same time. Nothing, anything to add to that one?
uh, looking at. It seems meh to me.
Yeah, it's
Looking at this.
it's very. To be honest with you, I'm extremely underwhelmed with what they did. There are very few teams like. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad draft. They fill a lot of depth. They get a lot of rotational players, which is fine. But after the whole Antonio Brown thing and the Le'Veon Bell, they needed a home run to just kind of say like, hey, we don't need you guys, and it shows. Well, after this, it kind of shows that they do need those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really quick recap: AFC North, Cincinnati number one with an A, Baltimore with an A minus at number two, Cleveland gets the nod at number three over Pittsburgh. Cleveland getting a B plus, and Pittsburgh bottom of the barrel, C minus, kind of what we expected. We're going to go ahead and move on now to the AFC East, where Ben is clamoring. I can hear it in his voice now. Buffalo Bills, number one in the AFC East. Sorry, Gabe. Suck it. Buffalo Bills, AFC East. They got an A. Thoughts on that one?
Well, I thought that, in my opinion, I thought they had the best draft. Draft.
Well, we went
Part of
back
that,
and we went back and forth
yeah,
quite a bit about between the Buffalo Bills. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at it right now. The Buffalo Bills did have the best draft as voted by the Jobbers. So, Buffalo Bills, best draft in the NFL.
yeah. Part of that is I'm gonna say it's a special thanks to the New York Giants drafting Daniel Jones.
Gettleman
Oh,
strikes again.
yeah. Um, yeah. Ed Oliver. The biggest. I think the biggest need for them was a three technique, and Ed Oliver fits the mold there.
Ed Oliver does
Sure.
everything.
Yeah, and that's the kind of guy you need for Sean McDermott's defense.
Mhm.
And try to fit him where he can maximize his pass rushing ability.
Mhm.
Um, and second round, they got Cody Ford, the guard tackle from Oklahoma. Value there, it's just great value there. Eric,
Steal.
you need to protect the best quarterback in the AFC East and Josh Allen.
Simon pointed out Devin Singletary he thinks is going to be the best running back in this situation, and that was their third round pick.
Well, already Devin Singletary is the youngest running back in that, and I mean, he's not 30. I saw Lance Zierlein say, I wasn't sure if it's Lance Zierlein, but on NFL.com they considered him a clone of LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Well, you have TJ Yeldon there, and then McCoy's on his way out after this year. And I love Yeldon going to the Bills, so if it gives Singletary some touches and whatnot, but if he's going to be the next big thing for Buffalo, how is that? That's a CBS gave that a B plus in round 3. How do you not give that an A?
yeah, yeah. What do we know about Dawson Knox?
Dawson Knox. I actually kind of like him. So he was another Mississippi guy, and he was. So we talked about Paris Campbell being. Oh no, Mike Weber. Wait, Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell being
Okay.
underutilized and not properly used with Ohio State. That's Dawson Knox with Ole Miss. You had AJ Brown and DK Metcalf with a quarterback who was on, they're on suspension for the whole
Right.
program because of Hugh Freeze, and you have this talent in Dawson Knox who he I hate comparing to people, but he has that I'm gonna run everybody over and I'm gonna catch the ball in front of you like Gronk did. He's not Gronk, and he will never be Gronk. He's only 250 pounds, but he has that mentality. And for Josh Allen, that's what he needs because we saw it last year. Charles Clay was afraid of the ball because he kept getting hurt. So I think
Oh, a
Knox is
lot of
going to be a huge upgrade.
yeah. Uh, I was about to say that a lot of them were afraid of catching the ball, and that's why they all dropped it.
That's why Kelvin
Opted.
Benjamin got cut.
This is probably a upgrade to Charles Clay.
Oh, 100%. Massive upgrade.
Eh,
And then this Vosan Joseph. Uh, what do you think? I mean, have you seen much of him from Florida?
Um, not a whole lot. Not recent. Not a whole lot. Have you?
Yeah, he is. So I do like Florida, going back to the Tebow days. So there are some weird teams that I follow for weird, stupid reasons, and also playing baseball in Florida. I kind of, you kind of pick teams
Okay.
when you're there. Um, very quick, I will say. He kind of looks like Cam Chancellor, but just a tad smaller. He's not as muscular. He's not as tall, but he's that same. He runs sideline to sideline. He's very shifty, but he's silent. He's sneaky, and he just kind of goes where he needs to be and then turns it on, like a quick twitch, like boom, I'm right past you. You think, oh, this big guy ain't getting around me, and then pop right by you. The issue is as the years went on, he actually got worse at tackling. But again, just like Grady Williams, you can teach that guy how to tackle in the NFL way, not the NCAA. We're gonna knock you for every freaking thing.
Right.
Um, there was another one I wanted to get into. Gosh, Jaquan Johnson, safety out of Miami. Uh, have you seen any of his stuff?
I have not.
So that Miami defense was it 2 years ago when they went to a bowl game, one of the major bowl games. Um,
Yeah.
he was a big reason why they were so physical defensively. I know people kind of give a little bit of a nod more towards the defensive line and whatnot, but he really set the tone for that team at least. In the secondary, and it's kind of weird. He's definitely a more physical, high IQ guy, not the most athletic, but he's
Okay.
definitely that guy.
So
And let's see here. I mean,
s-
it's going to be hard for him to supplant, Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer, but
probably not.
right. But he might fit into where Poyer can go and play in the nickel now, and then
Uh,
you put him in at safety when you have the nickel or the dime. Uh, gives him an extra bit because you need Poyer on the field, but you also need your better because I'm looking at their corners right now, and I mean,
White.
yeah, you get outside Tre'Davious White, you're not looking very good. And any way that you can get Poyer on the field and you can mix Johnson in, I think that's a huge, huge plus.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you have anything else to add on the Bills?
Um, trying to look at the roster for the most part, but uh,
I feel like they
obviously,
they really kind of filled everything they needed to, right?
That's what it seems like. Even in free agency, what they did, and
Cole
getting Cole
Beasley.
Beasley, John Brown, on, and forgot about that. Boy, Frank Gore is a Buffalo Bill.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's yeah. I think defensively they're going to be top 10,
Hmm.
and no doubt. It's just all about the offensive side. Can they keep Josh Allen upright? Hey, is he not going to take stupid hits running the ball?
Well, he had to kind of run for
Yeah.
his life, though. I mean, can you really blame him on that one?
No, I don't. And I'm not blaming him at all. When you have receivers that don't know how to catch a ball, all
Or
you
are
have to do
scared
it
of it.
yourself at some point.
Yeah. Looking at the receivers, Zay Jones. I had such high hopes for him, and then he just kind of laid a goose egg.
Yeah, he had a mental breakdown. Seemed like a while ago.
Yeah, during the offseason.
Um,
Looks like Tyler Croft is the as for now should be the starter for the Bills, but I think they're going to do a lot of two tight end set, and I think that works. Croft is more of a bigger inline blocker and can catch some little intermediate passes, but Knox I think is going to be your heavy hitter at tight end for the Bills.
yeah, we're
Um,
also we're also forgetting to mention Jake Fisher, the Oregon Duck left tackle that's now blocking tight end.
yeah, how's that going for him?
Ah, well, if he couldn't make it as an offensive lineman, he was a second round pick for the Bengals.
Yep.
Well,
You know it's
so
bad the
that kind
Bengals gave up on you.
yeah,
Well, he
yeah,
was part of that trade that got Glenn over to Cincinnati. He was the throw-in.
eh, I don't know what happened.
Uh, well, we're gonna move on then.
Yeah,
Um, Number two, the New England terrorists. I mean, the New England Patriots. A minus. This was a tough back and forth. Gabe obviously, they had the best draft ever in the NFL because
says that every year.
Gabe's never a bias. We got to come up with our own bias noise. Uh, so when Gabe decides to go on a rant about how great the Patriots are for no reason, we can kind of make him feel bad about it.
Yeah, we just remind him that the Patriots allow backup quarterbacks to beat their superior teams.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Nick Foles. Nick Foles is the goat because he caught a pass in the Super Bowl and Tom Brady dropped his. So
He dropped.
I hope Tom Brady's kids call Nick Foles daddy, and Tom Brady should be calling Nick Foles daddy as well. But
Even better. I'd say Eli Manning's the goat.
and Eli
Tom
Manning
Brady.
plays like a backup.
Yeah, and Tom Brady's 0-2 against Eli Manning.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you let Eli Manning beat you, especially when he got Randy Moss.
Oh, that team. That team was. They were literally perfect. Literally perfect. And you lose to Eli Manning. But you know what?
The
Hey, and
team
then play.
that was a wild card team too,
Yep.
twice.
And the freaking they allow a guy to shoot himself in the leg. That's who your competition is. The guy is so smart he shoots himself in the leg, and you can't beat that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we'll get to the picks, and we'll stay under this. And Ben wrote on this one um, for our draft ranking, so I'll let you take the lead on this one. Thoughts on the Patriots draft picks?
NFL. Please stop letting the terrorists win. For the love of God. On all joking aside, like Belichick and the Patriots just draft consistently well.
Hmm.
Uh, their first round pick, was Keneal Harry, the receiver out of Arizona State.
Mm-hmm. And
If you
we talked about
look
this
at
before.
yeah
I had him at going to number 3 at the Jets earlier in the season. I thought he was leaps and bounds over everybody, and I still think he is.
he absolutely is in terms of route running.
Mm-hmm.
He fits Josh McDaniels and Daniels' offensive scheme super well. Oh, and yeah, then they also added Damian Harris out of Alabama.
Great
Uh,
pick.
Great pick. They already got Sony Michel in there, and he was the one that pretty much won them the Super Bowl, not Tom Brady. It was mostly the defense and Sony Michel. Tom Brady did nothing. I repeat, Sony Michel's the GOAT. Tom Brady played like Alex Smith. He
I
managed
agree.
the game. That's all he did. Yeah. However, adding Damian Harris brings physicality, brings a LeGarrette Blunt aspect back to the running game that they used to have. And Sony Michel can. I don't know if he's got.
Injuries. Injuries is
Yeah,
a big reason why they probably picked him, but uh, I gotta say, uh, CBS is giving Jawan Williams an A plus to the Patriots number 45, and I understand that there was a little run on corners, and they got the guy that they wanted, which is without a doubt. I mean, for the fit, sure, A plus, but for where he got drafted at, mm, maybe more of a B. It's still, I mean, you can't call it a reach because that's where the draft is taking him. But talent wise, a little bit of a reach there. I thought he was more back end of the second round, beginning of the first or the third round. Uh, eh, like I said, I would have picked him probably in the 60s, early 70s. Sure, I would have been okay with that. And then it got a little weird. We went from great picks to Jarrett Stidham. And I love Stidham. I love the way he throws. I love his mechanics. I love just everything that he does. Uh, Throwing the ball is fantastic. I watched him at Baylor do it. I watched him at Auburn do it. And I see how they run their offenses. And then I see the Patriots draft Stidham. And I think, again, it's another one of those block picks. We are blocking somebody from getting him, and then we're going to hold him for the very last second, and then we're going to cut him and put him on our practice squad and make somebody else take him. And I don't like when teams do that. I hate that teams play that. I understand it's a business and everything, but we want to see these guys excel. We want to see people get the right chances to go somewhere, and I think quarterback's the hardest position to do that at because there's only 32 starting, and there's only 32 backups. And I can tell you right now, Stidham is not going to be the backup on this team. Uh, then you go down Byron Court, Jake Bailey, uh, Ken Webster. Not good picks. Just not what they need. You go with Juwan James, who is exactly what you want, 6'4", got all the length and athleticism. And then you go to Ken Webster, who's a very injured Mississippi guy, again, Ole Miss. Uh, Maybe you put him at safety and he doesn't get hurt so much. Patrick Chung's getting a little older, so is McCourty. Maybe both the McCourty brothers are leaving and they're planning on that. Jake Bailey, I get it. They have a left-footed punter. They only signed him to a one-year deal, no guarantees. So maybe Bailey beats out their current punter and hooray.
yeah.
But yeah, 133, 159, 163, and 252. Those picks, mind-boggling. You go from fantastic to those, and it just kind of, huh.
Yeah. I will say we're forgetting the 77th pick, which was a third round pick in Chase Winovich,
Yeah,
the edge rusher in Michigan.
you had a
Once
great
again,
comparison for him.
yeah, I have a feeling he's going to be a Rob Nikovich. Uh,
That's a great career to have, by the way. I mean, if you could spend 10 plus years in the NFL being Ninkovich, I think anybody would take that coming out of high school.
yeah, and it, it's just not. It's It's just not fair how well they just.
Ben's Millennials coming out. It's not
Yeah.
fair. I want my participation trophy.
Well, our participation trophy is thrown at the 1 yard line, but
When they should have ran it.
yeah. Let's throw it to Ricardo Lockett. No disrespect to him, but let's throw it to our guy that's like 6 on the depth chart.
There is no salt at all in the air between Ben and Pete Carroll right now. So, just saying. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next one. Number 3 in the division for the AFC East is the Miami Dolphins at a B+. Now, this does include the Josh Rosen trade, as we've been talking about before, like Frank Clark, like the Khalil Mack trade. Those do factor into these, and I think that giving up... what'd they give up? I forgot. Crap. I think they gave up like a second and a fourth. Okay, they gave a second round pick to the Cardinals in 2019, who they used on Andy Isabella, which we both like, and a 2020 fifth round pick for Josh Rosen. And I feel like that's a steal on Miami's side. And then the picks that they used on top of that help kind of secure them having a pretty good draft. What do you think about that, Ben?
I absolutely love the Christian Wilkins pick. That's another 3 tech.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, man, that's another Clemson defensive lineman that should wreak havoc.
And I know when we initially saw the pick, we were kind of stunned that they didn't take a quarterback, because the pick was announced. By the way, the trade was announced for Josh Rosen about an hour before the draft, but it was for a second round pick, and that changed. Or for a second round pick, and then that changed, and there was a lot of uncertainty actually up until the end of the draft on what actually was given to the Cardinals for Josh Rosen, or if Josh Rosen was even traded. So when me and you were doing the draft, we saw Wilkins come up, and we were just kind of appalled.
Yeah. Yeah, I originally questioned it, but knowing that Josh Rosen trade happened, it actually changed my mind.
Yeah, right? I mean, it went from like a, ooh, why'd they do that, to, all right.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have to use a first round pick or anything, so that's a win.
Yeah. And on top of that, in round 3, yeah, they gave up their second round pick, which I thought was, like I said, great value. But third round, they picked Michael Dieter out of Wisconsin. He is going to fit exactly what they want to do. They are going to run the ball down your throats. Sure, they probably don't have the best running backs right now, but they're working on it. And this is a rebuilding team, and Fitzpatrick stepping in right now, I think, to allow Rosen get comfortable in the offense where he didn't last year, is going to make leaps and bounds of a difference moving forward into 2020. Isaiah Prince, offensive lineman out of Ohio State. I feel like they just rebuilt their line with this draft. They have Tunsil there, and now you had Dieter and Prince. You know, what are your thoughts on the Dolphins just overall? Anything that you want to add to them?
I think they're in the right direction. I think you do have to question them drafting 2 running backs in the 7th round. No Myles Gaskin. They drafted Myles Gaskin. I think Myles Gaskin played a lot of football.
Yeah, he's got a lot of miles on him.
Yeah.
But the difference between the two, don't get me wrong, I understand that. Chandler Cox, though, is more of a traditional fullback, whereas Gaskin is more of the traditional running back.
Yes, that's... Okay. I've seen that now. Who's... they traded Jai to Philly, so I don't know much about who's the running backs right now.
What's his name? Damian Williams, I believe.
Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake. That's right. Okay.
getting drinks
Yeah.
there.
So Miles Gaskin is probably depth for them.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, I like Gaskin going to them because it's a.
Yeah.
I hate comparing him to Patriots because it's not really the same. But James White, kind of what he does, where
Yeah.
you kind of know they're going to pass the ball to him, but you still got to kind of set up for the run. And I think that's where Gaskin's going to get a lot of his yardage is catching it out of the backfield.
Right. And
Uh, Looking at the roster for the Dolphins, center wise, Daniel Kilgore I think is going to be the starter there again. Guard they have Isaac Asaida. Asada. He was starter for them last year. Apologize for butchering the name. Let's see here. Chris Red, I don't think he's going to do much. But they still have Tunsil and, picking up Dieter to where you can put him on the right side where Juwan James was last year after he left for free agency. And then you take Isaiah Prince and you move him in at the other guard. I kind of think you just made your solidified offensive line.
yeah, yeah, they're like we said, they're in a step in the right direction. And I mentioned defensively, they don't look too bad.
Yeah. They
Uh,
needed linebacker help because Kiko Alonso's garbage and he's a dirty player and nobody
yeah,
likes him. But, to each his own.
yeah, yeah. I'm looking at mostly secondary. Fitzpatrick is a solid safety.
Yeah,
Rashad Jones
he's going to be a stud.
Rashad Jones has been in Goodwin for years.
We have Eric Rowe, who's a former first-round pick. I like him. He's really lengthy. Xavier Howard, breakout year last year, and Bobby McCain. Those three as your starting corners. I mean, that's a hell of a starting secondary.
Yeah,
And then
I
pair that with Fitzpatrick and I believe I want to say, oh man, T.J. McDonald's there. Who is their big dude? Didn't they just Rashad?
Rashad Jones.
Yeah, is he still there?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah, he's been one of the best strong safeties in the league.
yeah, he's definitely lost a couple steps, but you get T.J. McDonald in there to kind of help spell him a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think they did pretty solid for their draft. They could have probably been a little bit higher, but at the same time, I feel like B plus is pretty strong for what they
yeah,
did and what they got.
yeah. No, I'm gonna say if you're the Dolphins, you might have to be a little concerned if you're starting Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well,
Simply, be,
oh, good.
simply because if you're going for a rebuild year, Ryan Fitzpatrick's probably not your guy. All right, he's gonna exceed expectations. For or you watch the beginning of Tampa. He was
Fitzmagic.
yes, and we saw it when he was with the Jets. He got him to like an 8-8 season. You just got to be a little wary if you want on a top tier pick. Was starting Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Well, the good news is they are definitely going to be on the upside. They're definitely going to be moving forward. And with Fitzpatrick, even, I think they're going to. Sure, they might win 6 or 7 games. I hope they don't. I kind of hope they fall a little bit so it allows Rosen a nice little comfortability to get in there and, become the Rosen one again. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one, number 4, obviously the bottom of the East. That would be the New York Jets. They were given a C. Ben, I know you were happy about the Quinnen Williams pick, but other than that, how do you see the pick there for the Jets?
Well, obviously, I love the Quinnen Williams pick. He's simply, I think he's the next Aaron Donald. Arnold, and he's going to be disruptive in the AFC East, and they also picked up. I'm not going to try his first name, but they picked Polite in the third round, an edge rusher from Florida. Uh, Greg Williams knows how he's going to use those two.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't think I'm concerned about that. I will say, what's how many picks they had. I knew they tried to trade out of that third pick, but they couldn't get anybody. I did trade with them from what I understand.
Hmm.
And but they still got they still got the best player in the draft. Uh,
Well, and they also, after getting burned by Anthony Barr, they did pick up Blake Cashman out of Minnesota. Uh, he's a ball hawk. He has a nose for the ball, like we were talking about earlier. There's just guys who have that knack to to want to just be at that ball. Uh, really good zone coverage. I wouldn't say he's a very good pass rusher. He's not first to get to the ball in the middle of the field just because playing that inside position, he's trying to wait back, read the play action, etc. But he does react quickly. And I think that's really helped him out. I think a fifth round, getting picked in the fifth round was a bit of a fall for him. I personally thought he would have been great in the third round if you were in need. But, I mean, great value for the Jets. And for me at least, I think that was probably their second best pick out of the other ones that were probably all ranked a lot lower.
yeah, yeah. I think you also got to be concerned with they didn't really address the cornerback situation with the
Yeah,
Jets. That's nor did they go
offensive
try to get a
line.
receiver.
Well, receiver. I mean, are you 100% on Robbie Anderson and Javon Curse?
Well, Jermaine Curse is a free agent right now.
Oh, so he's not even
Um,
with them.
yeah, he's not even with them.
Well,
You picked up Jamison Crowder, which is okay. Quincy
Quincy
Enunwa,
Enunwa, love Quincy
he,
Enunwa
yeah, but he's hurt. He
a
seems
lot.
to be hurt a lot. He didn't really dress the tight end, and he did draft Trevin Wesco. Oh,
Yeah.
you got to give Sam Darnold some help at some point.
Well, he's supposed to be the next Tom Brady, so maybe he's supposed to make stuff out of nothing. Because Tom Brady did that, not Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick. But
Yeah,
right, right,
yeah,
right. Robbie Anderson, Josh Bellamy, Deontay Burnett, Stacy Cole, Jamison Crowder, Quincy Enunwa, Cordy Henderson, J.J. Jones, Sharon Peak, Tim White, D'Angelo Yancey, and Ty Montgomery are your wide receivers for the Jets. They sound quite packed.
yeah. And Robbie Anderson is on the roster. He's just listed as a restricted free agent.
Correct. Yeah. And Rashard Matthews has left. He's an unrestricted free agent. Jermaine Curse as well, and then Mo Claiborne, their best corner for the last couple of years, is also restricted or unrestricted free agent.
Although
Uh,
was that in mind, safeties are still damn well. You got Tremaine Johnson. You got Jamal Adams, Marcus Maine, and Tremaine Johnson. But
yeah, but that's the point. You're given
yeah,
May and Adams are great, and I do love Tremaine Johnson, but at the same time, you just kind of you're putting too much pressure on them, and they don't need that. They need help.
yeah.
So we'll ditch the Jets because who doesn't want to ditch the Jets? And we're gonna go ahead and move on to the NFC. So really quick though, we're gonna just backtrack AFC East. Number one for the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills, who also grade out as the best draft in the NFL, and I believe we didn't mention it before, but Josh Allen at number 7 was picked by us as the best pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the draft. That could have been best value, best overall. That just seems to be the best fit. We all kind of think he's going to be an all-star in that defense. So we'll go ahead and move forward now to the NFC West. We have the number one team in the NFC West. I know it pains Ben to hear these words, but the Arizona Cardinals. So this might possibly be my new team. And it's not because of Kyler Murray, because he went to A&M. First of all, he went to A&M when he could have gone to UT. Already kind of turned my nose up at that. But then you go to Oklahoma, and you're from Texas, and you kind of know how we don't like Oklahoma, and you go to Oklahoma anyway. Now I get it. You wanted to go there to win and do everything you wanted to do, but UT's baseball team was better. UT's football team could have been better with you, Kyler. We probably would have won a national championship. Not really, but it is what it is. I'm more of a Cliff Kingsbury guy. Not the best quarterback in the NFL and NFL Europe, but I love him as an offensive coordinator, and don't know how I'm going to like him as a head coach. He helped Patrick Mahomes. He helped Baker Mayfield. He helped a lot of these guys become who they are, and I really like that. And Kyler really likes Cliff in the way that they work together. I know Lincoln Riley really had an impact on Kyler Murray at Oklahoma, but I think that Cliff Kingsbury has a really great knack for being. It's like a pitching coach. Quarterbacks coach and pitching coaches are the same. Linebackers, you have so many. Corners, you have so many. Offensive linemen, you have so many. Pitchers, your pitching coach talks to you. Your quarterback coach talks to you. There might be 3 guys on your roster. Pitching coach a little bit different because there are quite a few, about 10 to 13. But with the quarterback position, those are your guys. Those are the people that you lean on every day. And when you have a guy that you can lean on like Cliff Kingsbury, who can help you see the things that you don't see and help you recognize those at a young age, that's what makes Patrick Mahomes great. That's what made Baker Mayfield great. Not Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley did not make Baker Mayfield great. He was fantastic at Texas Tech before Lincoln Riley. So I thought that was a great pick. Not to dwell too much on just the Kyler Murray pick, but we'll get into the other amazing picks that they had, and they actually had a ton of picks too. Byron Murphy was a steal at the 33rd pick. That started off that little run of cornerbacks, but he is a great size for what Arizona wants to do, and Patrick Peterson on his way out just because of age. I think that's more of we're looking for it. He's definitely a better tackler, and that'll help. That's why they didn't go Gretty, and I understand that. But he's definitely a good pick. Andy Isabella, we both talked about him, Ben. We really like him. He's from Massachusetts. You got him for Rosen, so they're going to be tied together. So if Rosen becomes the next all-star, everybody wants him, and Isabella is just kind of average, that's always going to be a tied together one. My next two, all of them are great. My next 2 big ones are Hakeem Butler, Deontay Thompson. I thought Thompson was going to go much higher. I had him pegged earlier. We talked about this the last mock draft. I had Thompson going 27 to Oakland. They ended up going another route with safety, but Thompson, I think, is probably the best cover safety, and he's definitely explosive. And at 6'1", he's got the length to kind of keep up with the DK Metcalfs of the world. Hint, hint, next one to Seattle. But Hakeem Butler, 6'5", 227. Holy crap. This right here is your next. I'm not comparing him to Larry Fitzgerald, but this is your next safety blanket like Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald there'll never be another one. He has more tackles than he does drop passes in the NFL. Think about that.
Insane.
But yeah, other than that, do you have anything to add add Ben to this amazing draft by Arizona, who I thought should have been the best draft.
Uh, you pretty much nailed it on the head. And I really like Andy Isabella. I think he's going to be a good slot receiver. Um, I think the Arizona Cardinals are cruel in was their last pick getting Caleb Wilson out of UCLA. Um, because if you watch Josh Rosen in UCLA, one of his I believe one of his favorite targets was Caleb Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson, so this is trade Josh Rosen then to get Caleb Wilson.
Kind of that last slap in the face.
Yeah,
For me, at least, I thought the worst quote, if you want to call it the worst pick, was Zach Allen out of BC. But I feel like that was another one of those where hey, we have to get this guy before somebody else does, kind of reaction pick. But it worked out because he's also really freaking good.
yeah, yeah. The question is how are you going to use him? Use him because they're not sure. Like some scouts we're not sure if he's a 4-3 defensive end or a 3-4 defensive end.
Right, and I see them actually moving him because they're doing, I believe, a 4-3 now in in Arizona, and I honestly think they're going to move him to D tackle. I think he'd be a quick D tackle. He would definitely be the right size at 6'4", 281. He's not undersized at all. I think that would be the best spot for him to go, and it would make the most sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I mean, Corey.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have much to say about him.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm not a big BC guy, but I did watch a lot of his film when I saw him come up, and I kept hearing the name a lot. And Corey Peters is 30 years old. He might be on his way out at the end of the year because a lot of these guys they want more money and they don't want to be a part of a rebuild. And depending on how this rebuild goes, he wants another big contract. And other than that, who else you got? Darius Philin
Right.
and Dominican Robert Nkemdiche has been a bust.
Yeah. It's been non-existent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're doing 3-4 because their defense coordinator is Vance Joseph.
Okay. Well, even at
Of
3-4, he's a good 3-4. I mean,
Yeah.
for a pass rush, you want pass rush, that's your guy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm just now looking at the Cardinals roster.
Mhm.
Like we said, you got Larry Fitzgerald. But
Christian
Christian Kirk had a solid season
Yes.
last year.
And you put Hakeem and Isabella with Kirk, and I believe I think it's Jermaine Gresham. I think is still their tight end. Charles Clay. Ugh. Okay.
Gresham left.
Yeah. Clay and Seals Jones. Seals Jones is really roller coastery, but also an A&M guy who was there when Kyler was at A&M. So, and with Cliff Kingsbury as well. So you have Kirk, you have Seals Jones, who know Kyler Murray very well, and Cliff Kingsbury and how they play. I don't see how that's a bad thing.
Really, on that offense, we're forgetting about it. David Johnson.
Yep.
Johnson's going to be a factor in it, but
Ooh.
the problem you got for Arizona is the offensive line.
Yeah.
That's the biggest question mark. And if you're getting a guy like Kyler Murray, I'm assuming you're trusting him to
Be a runner.
be a runner like Russell Wilson.
Right, and they did draft Joshua Miles at Morgan State. I don't know much about him. CBS gave him I believe, an A ranking for where he was picked, a B minus. Just a small school tackle. They're saying he might end up being a guard.
Yeah.
Justin Pugh still there. AQ Shipley definitely at the
He
back.
signed J.R. Sweezy.
J.R. Sweezy. Yep.
He's going to be a starting guard, either left or right guard.
Looking at the roster there for For the Cardinals, somebody that we didn't think about. I didn't even know this happened. Um, Former first round pick, Kevin White,
Yeah.
if he can stay healthy and catch a ball. Maybe
um,
maybe if he's just a punt returner and just a guy you want to throw a freaking go route to, he's the man.
yeah. Yeah, if you can see the field.
Well, I think they touched everything. Like I said, I thought they had the best draft. They touched everything that they needed to. They checked a lot of boxes. They did great everywhere, and it allows them to have some flexibility on getting rid of some guys. So, for me, I thought that was the best one, and like I said, possibly might be my new team now that me and Houston have broken up. Moving on to number 2 in the AFC West. Ben's a little iffy on this one, but a B plus for the Seattle Seahawks. Ben,
So
agree or disagree?
honestly, I felt like it's in a B
Okay.
range because they address a lot of things, a lot of needs that needed to be filled.
Mhm.
Uh, like I said at the beginning of this, they started out with 4 draft picks. The key contributing factor to this is they trade Frank Clark back to Kansas City, and they got the 30th pick in the draft.
29.
Yeah, 29th. 29th. They traded the 21st, got the 30th pick. I was in the vicinity, but
Sorry, no judgment.
they did. Yeah, they did so. They ended up with the 29th and the 30th pick, and it took forever. And they ended up getting a L.J. Collier from Texas Christian.
And then traded the 30th pick.
Yeah, they let the time expire on the 29th, and they just took forever with trying to trade the 30th. Right. Collier, they see a lot of Michael Bennett. He's probably going to play 5-tech. Heck, I'm all right with the pick. Heck, you needed a defensive end after trading Frank Clark, but he's not what Frank Clark
Right.
is.
Do you think it was worth? Do you think that trade was worth it though? Now you're saying he's not Frank Clark, but do you think the trade is worth it?
I think the trade is worth it because you're not. He didn't sign the franchise tag, and he was going to be costing $17 million a year. And we talked about this before, or trading him opened up cap space to where you can re-sign Bobby Wagner and Jaron Reed,
Right.
who I think are more important to the defense. And
Well, and then you also brought up, they started off with 4 picks and they ended up with 11.
yeah,
And I think that trade kind of propelled them to start doing all that wheeling and dealing because they didn't feel, oh man, we're giving up our only first round pick. Now they said, we'll give up our first round pick. We're getting our guy.
yeah. And Pete Carroll in the draft said that trade, the Frank Clark trade, was the catalyst of being able to trade down, move up and down the board.
Yeah.
Personally, my favorite picks was, I love DK Metcalf in the combine, so I really love that we traded up to get DK. DK is the kind of player that you need to have in the right situation, and Seattle is probably the best fit for DK Metcalf. Because Seattle wants to run the ball, they want to pound the rock. Sooner or later, you're gonna have a play action, go route, go post, whatever. He doesn't have the biggest route tree, but the routes he runs well, Russell knows how to throw it.
Well, so my question for you now is I'm going to give you his college stats. And I'm not going to tell you how many games played because we already talked.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the games played afterwards, but I want to kind of bring this up. Receptions 26, yards 569 and 5 touchdowns, and he did that in 7 games. That's somebody's college season in a 12-game season with no bowl game. So, with that being said, And we forgot to mention Doug Baldwin has kind of retired, talked about retiring because of injury. We don't know if it's official yet. Um,
Yeah, he has considered it.
so if Baldwin retires, where does that put first? We'll go first question. If Baldwin retires, where does that put DK on the depth chart?
Well, DK is not drafted to replace Doug Baldwin.
Correct.
Doug Baldwin. Let's put it that way. They also drafted two more receivers, and Gary Jennings and John. I'm not gonna even try his last name. It's a receiver out of Hawaii.
Ursua. Sorry,
Yeah,
messing
John.
up names.
Yeah, John Usua is probably the guy that's could end up replacing Doug Baldwin.
Right,
Uh,
but because Baldwin plays on the inside and the outside, do you think Baldwin gave them flexibility, whereas Ursua, Jennings, and DK, they're kind of specialty guys. So do you think DK slots in at the number two and plays the outside while Lockett plays the true number one? Or how do you think they're going to line that up?
I honestly don't have don't know because of if Doug Baldwin's been valuable for the team being inside and outside, being one of the better route runners in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So you got and probably the biggest knocks on DK and Gary Jennings, or the route running's not the best.
Right.
Yes, so that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I think if you were to take Metcalf, Jennings, and Ursua and you put them together, they'd be the perfect receiver because Jennings has the best hands out of all of them. DK has the speed, the size, the length, and he does have soft hands. And Ursua is able to run those routes. And I feel like just like I always go back to baseball, it's kind of like a platoon thing. They have three left fielders, one hits better, one steals better, and one plays defense better. And I think they're going to try to work those guys in as they can. And I mean, it's going to give away the play. Don't get me wrong, it's going to give away the play.
Yeah.
But I think Russell Wilson's too good to fail at that situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after part one of the question, part two of the question, with the expectation on DK Metcalf coming out, we all thought he was going to be in the first round, and he fell to the third round. So much we know. But out of that, Okay, so his stats again. This is only 7 games, translating into a 16-game season. Do you think he's going to do better? We're going to go one by one. Do you think he's going to have more than 26 receptions? Over or under?
I'd say over.
Over. Yardage, 569. Over or under?
I'm gonna say push.
Push.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to be right around that.
Okay. And touchdowns, 5. Over or under?
Over.
Over. Okay.
Over. He's going to be a big red zone threat to Seattle's offense.
Well, and not just red zone, but the home run. When Russell Wilson is such a good play action passer, and he hides that ball really well. I think that if you have Metcalf every single play, just running a go route, running that 9 every single time, and sure, he's going to get burnt out pretty quick, but I think 2 of those are going to connect, and they're going to be big touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see that.
So enough about DK. We talked about the other receivers. Any other gems that the Seahawks made from Frank Clark?
Don't know if it came from Frank Clark. I'll just tell you what a couple guys that I liked in the draft. So one was Phil Haynes. If you look at the guy, he fits what Seattle wants in a guard. Is a big run mauling on guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to replace Mike Upati, but he's going to be good depth Up. And I said if it was Tom Cable, I would not be confident in Seattle drafting offensive linemen, but I have full confidence in Mike Solari fitting the pieces together. And I love the Ugo Amadi pick from the Oregon Ducks.
I love how you can say
Uh,
his name, but you can't say or sorry. I mean, I can't even say his name either. But I mean, I love that you can
yeah,
say that name.
yeah. I don't know. Ugo Amadi. Seattle lost Justin Coleman to Detroit. If I'm not mistaken, Detroit gave him like the highest paid nickel contract.
Who was that?
Uh, Justin Coleman.
Let me take a look while you're talking.
And so Ugo Amadi fits the mold for what they want at the nickel spot. And he should do well there. Another guy is Ben Burr Curvin. He's nicknamed for BBK. He's a linebacker out of the Washington Huskies. He's
Holy
this guy.
crap!
Fine.
Sorry. Base salary not that high. Signing bonus $2 million. His dead cap money $16 million for Justin Coleman. Holy crap! He's making 11 a year.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, that's why we didn't go after him.
Whew. I agree to that.
Going back to BBK, a linebacker out of Washington. He has a nose for the football, for the ball carrier. He likes to run and hit. And I saw like on social media, like Seahawks fans are like, why are they drafting linebackers and whatnot? One, KJ Wright was hurt for majority of the year. He's not getting any younger. Two, we signed Michael Kendricks. Michael Kendricks could be going to federal prison for insider trading.
Yeah.
You need depth in the linebacker room.
Well,
No.
and I'm reading just a quick little description of him. He's a star in coverage, and I think that with KJ Wright, he is a big coverage guy. I don't know I don't follow much of the Sea Chickens, but what I do know is he's a lot better in coverage than he is as a pass rusher. So, do you think he's kind of a drop off from KJ, considering the injuries and everything, or do you think he's a better fit than KJ?
He's he's better than what they had last season. The season was cilantro. I know it's not cilantro, but it sounds close to cilantro. He's better. I think BBEK is going to be better than that guy.
Cilantro, Austin, Calatiro.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I see who you got. Second year out of Villanova.
Yeah, but
well, you drafted Shaquem Griffin. Everybody wants to see Shaquem Griffin.
Everybody loves a good underdog story. I don't know how well he's gonna do. Oh, he could be. There's a possibility that he could get cut.
Whoa! You're telling me that the leading tackler last year in the NFL preseason isn't gonna make a team?
Did you watch him play against Denver?
Sarcasm, sir. Sarcasm.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you go back and watch him play against the Denver Broncos, he struggled hard.
Yep.
Hard. He's a good blitzing back.
Yep.
I hope he picks it up. But he could be a liability.
Yeah. I have a bone to pick with all the people who were so like positive. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Griffin. I thought he was a solid pick. I think they got him in the sixth round.
Like either fifth or sixth
round. He's a good value pick, and he fills out a lot of depth because, like you said, he's a situational guy. He is a designated pass rusher, essentially, is what they would be using him as, and that's fine. I think teams that I always say this about cars. When somebody asks me what's my favorite car, I ask them what are we doing, because I'm not going to take a Ferrari out on the dirt roads to go try to run the Baja, and I'm not going to take a Baja to go out try to run the NASCAR or try to run NASCAR. So for me, I think that when teams start to do specialized roles, and that's where the Patriots kind of excel, is you get you get a designated pass rusher like Griffin, and they excel, and you don't have to pay him a lot. But when people were trying to say, "Oh, he's going to be the next best thing. If he had two hands, he'd be the best thing," eh? Because we saw him on the field and he wasn't producing. So I don't think that has to do with two hands or not. Um, but yeah, I agree. Griffin isn't an answer, and you're right. He might not be on the team next year. Let's see here. Oh, yep, Kendricks. Yep, still might be going to jail.
Yeah, they
Um,
moved his court date sometime later, so hopefully you move it back to March so he can play in a Super Bowl. Uh,
that's wishful thinking, sir.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
all the trades that they did. I know we talked about the length, and they kind of trolled us with the whole 29 and 30 pick. Um, so how do you feel Seattle did overall with the trades? I'm not talking about what they did, the picks and everything. Do you think they made the right move with making all those trades? And if so, you know, what do you think? What do you think? Did this set them up for future success as well?
yeah. It's already did. It already did because as the 2020 draft, they already got they're gonna have 12 draft picks already.
Right. Well, and we talked about draft capital before. The Giants having the most picks, and then the Patriots also having a ton of picks to where they could trade and move up and down the board. You have Seattle, who started with 4, traded some stuff, and did all that. Um, in 2020, how you said they're gonna have 12 picks. Do you see them trying to jump up towards the first round more, or what do you think they're gonna do with those picks?
My guess is as good as yours. I do know they got multiple second round picks, so they could jump up. They you don't really see them. You don't really see them jump up in the first round though. But where you do see them jump up on the boards, either the third or second round.
Right. They want to stay away
Uh,
from that guaranteed money in the first round, but we talked about it before the pre-podcast when me and you were having our conversation. Is with like the N'Keal Harry thing. It's yes, you have to give them guaranteed money, but you get that fifth-year option on them. And I mean, you know Seattle a lot more. Do you think if they like somebody enough, they're gonna jump up into that round, or
yeah, Eh, yeah. If it like an example, if it was a guy like Earl Thomas back in 2010,
well, yeah,
10 when yeah,
it's hard not to take him.
yeah,
It's hard not to take him.
yeah. It's got to be a once in generation, and if they're in range.
Right. And it's not, yeah, obviously it's not gonna cost them, the most. Yeah, if they're
Yeah,
if they're having to give up 3 seconds to get in there, that's not worth it.
yeah.
Really quick, thoughts on my personal thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts. Marquise Blair, the second round pick, number 47 out of Utah. Tell me what you think about him.
So I know you don't like the pick,
I don't like
but he's one of the harder hitting guys in college football.
him.
Uh, to
But
me,
hardest hitting corners and safeties in football also translates to unsafe, terrible tackling technique. Just, I mean, we talked dirty player with Kiko Alonso. Blair already has that reputation to begin with, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but he gets people injured, and that is a bad thing.
well, it depends on how you view that, but but
I mean, we all. I mean,
you hear hard hitter, you think dirty player. Here,
well, I watched him. That's the problem.
yeah,
I've watched his hits, and it
true.
really, oof.
I hear hard hitter. I hear replacement for Cam Chancellor.
But he's more of an Earl Thomas type player, though.
Well, That's the good news. News that we have Bradley McDougal who can play both the free and strong. He preferably plays better at the strong safety.
Right.
So you could have him. You could have Blair at free if you need
Yeah,
him
he's
there.
very sideline to sideline kind of guy. He likes to play, rover, just kind of hang out and bait people into making bad decisions. And I like that about him. You're right. There are things I like about him, just those things I don't like.
Yeah.
Um, so let's kind of do a quick little. Oh, yep, yep. Quick little glance. Anything else you want to talk about what the Sea Chickens did?
Not really. You got to be concerned with not how was with trading Frank Clark. You got to be concerned with not having a legitimate pass rushing option. And with that in mind, they're probably going to go after a guy like Ziggy Ongza.
Hmm.
Uh, but that's about it.
Gotcha. Well, looks like Seattle didn't do the worst. They're okay, I guess. Uh, so again, they got a B plus from us. Really quickly, let's kind of gloss over the Rams. They were number 3. They got a B minus. Ben, I mean, they didn't really do much, but I mean they were impactful with their picks. What do you think? Oh wow,
Uh,
they had a lot of picks actually towards the end. 1, 2, 3,
yeah.
6,
Um,
7. They had 8 picks. Wow, wow, wow.
they picked up a running back.
I like
And,
Taylor Rapp. I thought that was a good
like,
pick.
yeah, Rap's a good safety. Um,
I don't like that. I don't like when the people say safeties have to have the quickest time. That
no, they don't.
I don't care about what his 40 time is. He plays fast. He is a natural athlete when it shows up, and it's like Tim Tebow. Oh, he's. I mean, everybody hates me for Tim Tebow, but when you're a winner and you do whatever it takes to win, that shows up on tape, and that will never show up in a combine, and that's not something you can measure at a combine. It's all on tape. It's all watching him play. But
Yeah.
nah. You said you liked the running back from Memphis, Daryl Henderson.
Yeah. Uh, simply, you had C.J. Anderson be a main focal point at the end of the year because Todd Gurley had a situation with his knee,
Hmm.
with his knee. So I think getting a guy like Daryl Henderson who can kind of do some of the same stuff that Todd Gurley can do a bit, it will help take a less take a
Lessen the load.
lessen the load off of Todd Gurley.
Yeah, I mean he is 5'8", so there's definitely the height disparity, and obviously he's not as thick as Gurley is, but I mean still not that bad. It's a good
Yeah.
comparison. I really like David Long, cornerback from Michigan. I watch a lot of Michigan football. I actually, as much as I hate Tom Brady and the Patriots, I actually grew up a Michigan fan, rooting for Tom Brady in the Orange Bowl. Uh, so, you know, shows you how
Some
much.
mistakes were made.
Yeah. So no, no, not for picking Michigan, but just Tom Brady. Not being on a team that we all like. Um, but no, I really like Michigan. I watch a lot of their football games, and he really stuck out a lot. He's only 5'11", but he's kind of long. Like it's really weird. He's like a really weird 5'11".
Yeah.
Um, Pretty thick. He's very physical, and I think he's going to learn a lot from Talib playing on the outside there. I don't think Long's going to start, but I think he'll get a lot of game experience playing in the slot because of his quickness. But I think he'll end up becoming more of that physical back and take over for Talib here in the next 2 years. Moving on, we're gonna go to. Oh, by the way, the reason why they got a B minus, they did not address the linebacker issue until round 7. They picked up Dakota Allen from Texas Tech. Again, love me some Texas Tech. Not quick. He's not very explosive. He is very instinctual, kind of player. He does get there quickly, and he's very good in cover when it comes to zone. Not very good in man, and again, he's just not a. If you're looking for a Devin White type player, this is not your guy. This is more of your Manti Te'o. I'm stuck in the middle, and I'm gonna tackle you if you come into my zone. So, I mean, I know that's good for you because you guys
Yeah.
being a Seahawks fan, that's a good bonus for you guys.
Well, yeah, I'll mention. And I don't like that they got Clay Matthews because
Meh.
he's.
Over
I
the
know
hill.
you're mad. I know you're mad. He's over the hill, but any during the regular season, anytime Seattle played Green Bay for the most part, or Seattle could not block Green Bay's defense, and Clay Matthews would always hit Wilson in the head somehow. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but he does have a tendency to hit Wilson in the head, and the referees don't call that.
It's a natural talent for him.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, they really needed it. They really need to upgrade the linebacker position, but you can't do that when you're starting in the second round. Heck, even when you're picking number 31 and then you trade out of it. But I mean, smart for them next year moving forward. They got picks out of it. Good for them. Number 4, kind of a surprise, but not really a surprise. San Francisco 49ers, number 4 with a C plus. Ben, thoughts on the odd draft from San Francisco?
I mean, you had the second pick in the draft. Uh, They went with the best player available, and that's Nick Bosa. Uh, uh, I know you have a different take on that, but he's gonna fit. He's gonna fit well with the 4-3 defense that Robert Saleh does. He's gonna get after quarterbacks.
I'm not
Actually,
I'm not saying the fit is bad. I'm
yeah.
saying you have drafted now outside McGlinchey or whatever his name is, McGlinchey. You have now drafted in the last 5 years a defensive lineman. If you're not hitting on it already, why? What's that old saying? Insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different outcome. And I feel like that's how the 49ers are. Even though it's a different regime, you have Kyle Shanahan and um, golly, what's his name? Uh, John Lynch running it. I feel like it's still they're just banging their heads on the wall saying, why can't we figure this out?
I don't know about that. I thought on the offensive side, they because they needed a number one receiver. They had Dante Pettis who did well for him. So getting Debo Samuel and Jalen Hurd I thought are good picks. Kyle Shanahan knows knows where to plug them in.
You like
And,
the Jalen Hurd pick?
yeah, I like both Samuel and Jalen Hurd.
What I gotta ask? Do you think they reached though for Jalen Hurd at 3?
Uh, I don't think so. I think he got picked where he needed to be. He Most people
So
thought he was a third round pick.
so I'll give you his stats really quick. So he was a running back for the first 3 years of his career at Tennessee, and I mean, don't get me wrong, he's 6'5", 226. He's a big running back, and he had those big games. I don't know if you remember him with oh gosh, Dobbs at Tennessee when they were playing Alabama. He ran over Alabama, made them guys look like they were high school players, but I mean, he's definitely a project, and in 12 games, he had 69 receptions, 946 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and that is in the Big 12. So, curious why he was picked so high. You know, you had a guy like Devin Sills who, same situation, except for 65 receptions, 986 yards with, 15 touchdowns. LeJordan Murphy, who's also a 6'4", 220 guy, 86 receptions, 1,176 yards, and 9 touchdowns. You know, and he was big for them in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. So it kind of boggles my mind how he got picked in the third round. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. But you gotta. I think Dante Pettis is a big factor to why they didn't go after those guys. It's because Dante Pettis is a burner in his own right.
Right, and then you got Humphrey and Sills and Hurd are all they're basically the same receiver. At this point, they're all the same receiver. Sills definitely a lot slower, um, but Humphrey and Hurd, I mean, I think they're spot on for each other.
Yeah, but Kyle Shanahan knows where to how to scheme it.
True,
It's not like he.
true,
That's
very
where
true.
I'm not as concerned about that. Uh, and you said Jalen Hurd was a
Running back.
running back.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that they were supposed to have as a running back receiver guy was like Jerick McKinnon. He's coming off an ACL injury. I know they're not the same type of guy.
Hmm.
But
Well, now you have Tevin Coleman as well in that backfield.
yeah, I don't think it was as much of a need as people think.
Hmm.
Because he also got Matt Breida. Matt Breida had a good
Yeah, he did. Hey,
season.
helped me win some
So
fantasy games too. Shout out.
there's that. George Kittle.
Oh gosh,
Well,
Kittle's fantastic.
yeah. So I don't think it's a as much of a bigger deal than it can be.
Hmm.
Uh, Defensively, you just well, the cornerback situation you got to be concerned with because I know you got Richard Sherman. Okay, hey, he's going to shut down one half the field. That's what
1/3 of the
that's what
field because he
one
only
third.
sticks to 1/3 of the field because he's not a real cornerback. He just plays. But okay, sorry, my bad.
I disagree with you.
Rant. Sorry.
I disagree with you. If
Hmm.
you go back, if you go back to the Seahawks Steeler game in 2015, he switched sides with Antonio Brown. He followed Antonio Brown on that game. Ask me how Antonio Brown did.
How did Antonio Brown do?
Not great. I'm, I'm actually gonna have to look up the stats because I don't remember.
Well, while you're doing that,
Yeah.
they did draft one corner, and I think it could end up being solid. It's a Tim Harris out of University of Virginia in the 6th round. Uh, the knock on him is injuries, and as we all know, that can be a career killer for people just coming out of high school, coming out of college, and then making your ways finally to the pros, and then here, oh, you're injury prone. 6'2", 205, and he was at the top of the measurables in this combine, and on his pro day, he was one of the top corners. But the injury bug, definitely a concern with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And 49ers also signed Jason Verrett this offseason.
Yes, Jason Verrett is a huge. He is poised to have a huge year. For me at least, I love Verrett. I loved him with San Diego, and I
He just
hate
needs to
seeing
stay
him get hurt.
healthy.
Yeah, another big guy who gets hurt.
Yeah. So I found the game.
Mm.
Antonio Brown, 6 receptions, 51 yards.
What everybody else do?
Better.
Yeah.
I believe like Marcus Wheaton had like a 200-yard game.
Yep.
And like the Oregon, there's another guy that had over 100, like over 100, but Antonio Brown was non-existent.
Right. Well,
This and it wasn't Richard Sherman's fault.
no, it was not Richard Sherman's
Yeah.
fault because the biggest part about when you do stuff like that is, and you take away, say, a top flight receiver like Antonio Brown, he's letting you take him away.
Yeah.
He's not running 100% every single time because he knows, okay, I have a guy who's what, Sherman's probably what, 6'3", 6'4",
Yeah.
and Antonio Brown's like what, 5'9", 5'10".
Yes.
Cool. So he's giving away a lot of weight and a lot of size. So he's not going to, he might do his cuts quicker than he usually would. He might try a little bit harder there to try to get a ball, and that's how he got the 60 yards. But he's essentially just opening up the offense for everybody else, and it kind of did.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Marcus Wheaton had a 200-yard game, but that was the only game where he had a career game.
Hey man,
But
he turned into a
it,
contract. He took advantage of Houston.
yeah, changing the subject there. Yeah, 49ers also they didn't really address the linebacker spot, but really didn't need to because they signed Quan Alexander.
True, they did lose some depth though. They had a younger guy actually retire. I saw it on the free agency list, and
Okay,
they lose Tim Harris as well.
Tim Harris. Um, and looking at this defensive line, he's you got Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner,
And D Ford.
Solomon Thomas, and D Fort.
Yeah. Well, now here's the problem that you're going to run into. Which one of those guys is standing up?
D Fort.
Cool. D Ford's going to stand up. The reason why they got rid of D Ford because he's bad at standing up. And if you're playing 4-3, he becomes a true linebacker where he needs to play in coverage, and he is not a good true linebacker. Now you could probably rotate.
NASCAR.
Yeah, you could probably rotate Buckner and Thomas so they can get some rotational stuff in. But if you're expecting Boza to be in every down, well, Armstead's got to go into the middle, stay in the middle, and not come out. Um, you got Ford on the outside, you have Boza on the outside, Armstead on the inside, and then a rotation of Buckner and Thomas. Sure, that's fantastic. But linebacker wise, who you got? You have Malcolm Smith. That's your big edge rusher. And I say that sarcastically.
Yeah.
I love Quan Alexander. I thought that was a great pickup for them playing in the middle, but
Fred
no edge
Fred Warner
rushers.
had a good rookie year.
Who's that?
Fred Warner.
Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe somebody to keep an eye on. But you look at some of those guys, and you got to hope Malcolm Smith can play great in coverage. You got to hope that Quan Alexander will help put them in the correct position because safety wise, they're struggling as well. I know
Oh yeah.
safety they're not the best, and that's usually if it's not your middle linebacker, it's your safety that's helping them out. So Alexander has to be that guy for them without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just a quick little rundown for the NFC West. We have number one Arizona Cardinals with an A plus. Number two Seattle Sea Chickens, Seahawks. At number two with the B plus, the Los Angeles Rams a B minus at number three, and last is a San Francisco 49ers C plus rating. Um, we'll try to power through a few more here. We got the NFC South. Number one, New Orleans Saints. They didn't have a lot of picks, but they did well with their picks. Ben, did you follow the Saints at all in their draft this year?
Well, they not really, but I did see that they drafted a Eric McCoy, the center out of Texas A&M.
Correct.
Max Unger retired, so getting a guy that can start right away at center is huge.
Mhm.
Huge. The guy's got to get an anchor. Yeah, I'll say center's very underrated.
Yeah, I mean
Very part of the offense.
it's really important to have a legitimate center who can help direct your offensive line. Got to be the vocal
Yeah.
point of that line. I really think that this this draft was not for the future. I thought this draft was to extend Drew Brees' window, and I thought they did
Yeah.
a fantastic job with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chauncey Gardner Johnson.
Hmm. Love him, absolutely
Yeah,
love him.
I think that's a steal in the fourth round.
Yeah, right. I mean, to me, I think he's the best. I mean, so he's level headed. He plays the position well. He plays corner. He plays safety. He plays in the slot. He does everything. He's so versatile. I think that's where you have to be now with a safety. And I think getting
Yeah,
him in the fourth round, I don't see the knock on him is some tackling concerns. But uh, again, you can teach somebody how to tackle. You can't teach
yeah,
somebody to be a ball hawk.
yeah. I'll say as long as he doesn't keep his head down like Marcus Williams and tackle his teammate, he, he should be okay.
I think he'll be a little bit better than that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Marcus. You're a good player, but you got to keep your head up.
Uh, Other than that, they win another safety. I think that's more of their deeper trying to get further off into the next few years. Elise Mack from Notre Dame, tight end. I mean, they say he was explosive at the combine. I don't watch the combine, to be honest with you. I think it's a overrated, men in tights kind of thing. Uh, but watching him play, he did create a lot of separation, but eh. I mean, the tight end's the most used spot for the Saints, and for me, I think you have to go with a solid veteran, and Jared Cook was the big signing for them, and I think that's more important. I think Elise Mack's going to be your number two, and he's going to be a lot more of an inline blocker before he goes out for a pass. Moving on to number two, we got the Carolina Panthers, also a B plus. I know this one changed during our pre show when we were talking. We went from a B to a B plus. Uh, you have any thoughts on Carolina's draft?
I'll say the first round pick, Brian Burns.
Hmm.
It's the most typical Ron Rivera first round pick you could get. It
It fills a need though.
it does fill a need. If like multiple seasons ago, you thought Coney Ely was going to be the guy that would help out in the edge, and clearly they traded him to the Patriots and didn't think he would work out.
And he
But
still hasn't really worked out even for the Patriots. So
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This seems like a Carolina Panther
yeah.
draft overall. Really surprised they drafted Will Greer in the third round, and at the same time, you want to keep the quarterback room competitive. You're not guaranteed Cam Newton this year because he has almost like the same shoulder injury as Andrew Luck,
Hmm.
and Andrew Luck was gone for a couple seasons,
Yeah,
if
season
I'm
and a
not
half.
mistaken.
Yeah.
So you don't know how well Cam Newton's going to be.
Well, so my question is, so they have Kyle Allen right now as their backup, and if you think Cam Newton isn't going to be there, why not go out and sign a quarterback? Why not go out and trade for a Tannehill or a better option than Kyle Allen? And we talked about it before. I love Will Greer. I thought he was going to be the best quarterback given that if he went to the correct team. I thought he was going to be the best quarterback in the draft. But seeing Greer go to Carolina has just like completely dumped on me now. I hope he gets out of there quick.
So you're not a fan of him under Norv Turner.
Correct. I agree. I would not want to wish that upon anybody.
Yeah, yeah, I don't.
It's like John Gruden.
Yeah,
Everybody says, "Oh, Gruden's the quarterback whisperer." Gruden was awesome in the '90s and early 2000s, This game has changed so much, and as a guy who sat up in the booth for so long, he should know that it's changed a bunch. But he wants to go back to that old school way, and Norv Turner's kind of that same way. We saw it with Carolina last year. They they were stagnant on offense. They lacked explosiveness when they needed it. And DJ Moore was like, "Hey man, I'm right here throwing the freaking ball," and he would explode, and it just seems like they'd punish him for being explosive. They would
Yeah.
punish him for being that guy. And Devin Funches was benched at one point, and I think that's more of a coaching thing than anything. I don't think that's a person. I think he's going to ball out in Indianapolis. We didn't even talk about that. Funches with AJ Brown and T.Y. Hilton. I think Funches is going to be fantastic. But
Yeah. Completely forgot about Funches in the Indy.
yeah, I mean that was such an underrated one because Carolina was he's a he's a bad person, he's a bad person. I watched him play at Michigan, and I thought this guy was a for sure can't miss guy. And then look what they did to him. The Carolina screwed him over. And there's a new ownership now with Carolina. So if Irsay was the one dealing with Andrew Luck, and you were upending Peyton Manning's legacy when you did that, so you owed it to Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck to stick with him, and it's worked out. But Carolina doesn't owe that to Cam Newton. Cam Newton's thrown them under the bus a few times, after the Super Bowl loss and everything like that. He was really childish, and he was childish coming into the league. And I feel like this is their time to move on, but I feel like they pulled the trigger too early on Greer. They shouldn't have picked Greer. They should have gone. Easton Stick would have been great in this situation because he's a runner.
Yeah.
Greer is not that much of a runner, but that's my personal opinion of it.
Yeah.
Thoughts on anybody else from Carolina?
Not really. It just seemed like to me a typical Carolina draft.
Yeah. Solid. Nothing extreme. I do like Burns though. We talked about it a little
Yeah.
bit. And then Greg Little is going to help out with that offensive line. I think people had him a little bit higher than they wanted, but I think he's still going to be a solid offensive lineman for career wise.
Yeah.
Speaking of offensive line, number 3, the Atlanta Falcons, getting a B. um, Ben, thoughts on Atlanta's curious draft situation?
Yeah. They clearly thought offensive line was they needed to make offensive line a priority. So they went and drafted what's the 14th pick, Christopher Lindstrom, the guard out of Boston College. And they traded back up into the first round, I believe.
Yep, they got that
You-
from the Rams.
Rams, and they drafted Caleb McGarry, tackle out of Washington. To me, I like this a heck of a lot better than the icon scenario of trading Matt Ryan and Julio Jones or whoever the heck he had,
Mohamed Sanu.
Mohamed Sanu. Oh,
Come on.
I prefer. Or I understand that you need to protect your MVP quarterback. Heck, this is a step in the right direction.
Right. I mean, you're getting essentially a plug and play guard and right tackle, and pairing them together isn't the worst idea.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
yeah, and you
essentially
got
the same type of player too.
and you got a Pro Bowl center in Alex Mack.
Go ahead,
Mack,
say it. Pro Bowl freaking left tackle at Jake Matthews. I will slap the taste out of your mouth.
he was a Pro Bowler in 2018, so yeah, Pro Bowler.
Oh God.
It's like Nicolas Cage. He won an Oscar, so therefore you got to call him Academy Award winning actor Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, but people didn't bail from the Oscars. People bail on the Pro Bowl. I mean, he was probably like the 8th lineman at left tackle before they were like, oh crap, we gotta call Jake Matthews.
I don't know about that.
Other than the two offensive linemen, I mean, thoughts on it? I thought this was kind of a swing and a miss, personally.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it felt like the Panthers. Instead, this is more of a Dan Quinn type draft.
Yeah, kind of see how it goes. Kendall Sheffield's not the worst. He's got great speed, but he's undersized. He's not very good when it comes to kind of keeping up with those running or with those receivers on the deep balls. He kind of wants to float and do his own thing. That can kind of get him in trouble.
Yeah,
Quadre Olson, uh, I like him from Pitt. I thought he was pretty good. Um, he's going to go really, really well with the way that the zone blocking scheme goes in Atlanta. But I think he takes over as the number two back, but he's powerful, whereas Freeman is very shifty and wants to move around a lot. And I think it'll be a nice little thunder lightning situation.
yeah, yeah. I don't doubt that. I think Atlanta's biggest problem was that they had a lot of injuries on the
Yeah,
defensive side of the ball.
yeah, they lost
Oh,
Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, like I think before the end of week 3. It was not
okay,
it was not pretty for them.
yeah. Um, Other than Grady Grady Jarrett, I'm kind of I know they drafted the defensive end, but they didn't address going after a defensive tackle.
They did. They went
Yeah.
John Kaminsky, defensive tackle.
What I'm looking at, it says he's a defensive end,
Oof.
and but
Oh yeah, the CBS has him ranked as being pushed into the defensive line, defensive tackle area.
okay, yeah, he started in Charleston. He went from being 218 pounds to 285.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
Yeah,
That's a big boy. Um, yeah, I agree. I think you're right. It's a very meh draft, but not over the top, not underwhelming. Just kind of did what they needed to do. Number 4, we have Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a C plus rating. When they drafted Devin White, we all kind of thought, hey, Tampa Bay is onto something here. Maybe they're going to make some great moves. And then they went and had a Tampa Bay draft.
yeah.
Thoughts on their draft?
Uh,
Other than that, they drafted another kicker.
why can't you just go back to Matt Bryant? You had him at the beginning. Well, they had Matt Bryant early in his career, but he was bad in Tampa.
Teams that take a kicker in the NFL draft, they're the guys that are going through their midlife crisis and they want to date a 22
Yeah.
year old.
Uh,
The old reliable wife that was there before, she does everything you want her to, but that 22-year-old kicker looks a lot better and might do it a little bit better. Maybe. We'll see.
I'm reminded of a Ric Flair quote that I'm not going to repeat right now. Uh,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh, well, they went defensive
yeah.
heavy in this draft. If they hit, like you said, Devin White was the biggest one they hit.
hmm
He should do well with under Todd Bowles. Um,
Love the corners, Sean Bunting and Jamal Jean. I thought those are good pairings considering Vernon Hargreaves has definitely not panned out the way we thought he would. Kind of gives them a chance to, because Brent Grimes is getting older,
yeah,
and so you have two guys who can step in and be a good 1-2 punch and grow together as well.
yeah. Um, yeah. I'm just still,
Kind of going through them, and yeah,
yeah,
Anthony Nelson, D tackle from Iowa, um, big dude, 6'7", 271, and sure, I just think I
They-
he could be better than Vita Vea. I hate saying it, but Vita Vea needs to. They need to trade Vita Vea out of Tampa Bay because he's just wrecking his career, and they're wrecking his
You,
career by keeping him.
you don't think he'd fit as a nose tackle?
Well, being 3-4, the way that they're going to do it, I understand that. But as we can tell, a lot of these teams are going towards interior pass rushers that are able to stop the run as well. And Vea is not a pass rusher. Gerald McCoy is a pass rusher. Used to be a pass rusher. This Anthony Nelson, I think he's a better pass rusher on the D tackle side than Vea. And I think Vea just doesn't fit what they want to do.
Okay.
Because I mean, you see, they had Leonard Washington playing up in when Bowles was there. They had Leonard Washington playing D tackle in a 3-4,
Yeah.
and he is not a nose tackle. He is get to the ball and tackle, and it just it feels like now Vea is a wasted pick for them, even though it wasn't that regime that was there. But this Nelson pick, this feels more like a Todd Bowles pick to me. And
Yeah.
it makes sense. But and they drafted a receiver out of Bowling Green to be in the slot, but it makes no sense to me because Godwin's a great slot receiver already. Is what it is. NFC North, Chicago Bears got the lead, B plus. So they are taking the lead as number one out of this draft class for the NFC North. Thoughts on their draft, Ben?
Um, when you traded Jordan Howard to the Philadelphia and you respond, well, you don't have a first or second round pick because of Khalil Mack.
So, do you think the Khalil Mack trade was a bad trade, knowing what we know? Good or
No,
bad trade?
not.
Okay.
Oh, it's a good trade. They originally were a top 10 defense without Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is what put them over the top.
Agree.
So
And then,
I got no problem with that.
and we don't know yet about the Jordan Howard one, but how do you feel like the Jordan Howard trade worked out in favor? What was it a favor of Chicago or thoughts on that?
I felt like that was a good trade for both teams.
Hmm.
Jordan Howard's a good running back. He just didn't fit what the Matt Nagy's offense. Hence, part of the issue was Jordan Howard was not a very good pass catching back.
Hmm.
He was a power he's a power runner. Runner.
Hmm.
Runner. He did well, but part of the problem was he telegraphed. When he was in the backfield, he just telegraphed what they were going to do because it was either play action or they were just going to hand it off to Jordan Howard.
Right, and he kind of was a stiff runner as well. I don't know if you noticed that when he wasn't
Yeah,
very fluid. His after his breakout year, he stopped being really fluid, and I don't know if it was an injury thing because he did get hurt a lot, or if he was just upset being in Chicago. But I think I agree with you. Is it's a good move for him to get out of there and try something
yeah, and
different.
it's also why, and he was a fifth round pick.
Yeah.
Back in 2016, which again, I'm not a big fan of picking running backs in the first round.
Yep.
Which I'm perfectly fine with. The Bears. Terry Cohen's is a terrific player and under Matt Nagy's system. He kind of does the stuff that I would say he's like Tyreek Hill, but he does it in different ways.
Right. He's
Different
a
ways
mix
for him.
between Tyreek Hill and Alvin Kamara in what he does.
Yeah, yeah, and with which I'm perfectly fine with them drafting David Montgomery.
Right.
Montgomery, I don't want to be the look at the comparison guy, but like Lance Zierlein, for NFL.com, compares him to Kareem Hunt.
Whew, hopefully not off the field.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't have the punting skills of. Yeah.
Oh yeah, love it, love it. No such thing as too soon with us.
Yeah.
Um, I was looking at one and I thought it was an interesting pick at first, and then I thought about it more and more. Looking at the receivers for Chicago, Tanner Gentry, probably not on the team. He's probably a practice squad guy. Taylor Gabriel, sure. Marvin Hall, Anthony Miller, Cordell Patterson, Allen Robbins, sure. So looking at it, Allen Robbins, Taylor Gabriel, absolutely, they're going to be your go-to receivers. Now, Cordell Patterson proved in Oakland, proved in Minnesota, and even proved in New England. He's not a good pass catcher. He's a special teams guy. He's an odd little gadget player. But picking up Riley Ridley in the fourth round for me was kind of a steal for them. CBS only gave it a C plus because he doesn't fit their style of play. But I think he will change their style of play based off of how he plays, and I think he's going to be the go-to target for Mitchell Trubisky moving forward.
I think so too. I think he's going to be a good possession guy.
Yeah, he's that guy who's you need the third and two. He gets you 2.5.
Yeah.
And he'll fight for every yard. So I think that's a very underrated pick for them, and especially since, like you said, they didn't have a first or a second round pick. I think they made the most out of their draft. They added another cornerback. They added 2 running backs actually. Kareth White Jr. from Florida Atlantic. He is your speed back. Hey, we need you to run a sweep. You're going to score a touchdown on this. Boom. That was that's your guy. But they had a 6'4" corner from, I believe that's Balding State. I have no idea. Kansas State as well. They had a 5'9" cornerback. He's smaller, kind of like a Callan or Calhoun. What's that guy's name? Bryce. Been with them for a few years now. Hot dog. Can't find his name now. Oh, he might have left. But he was with Chicago for a little while. 5'9", undersized guy, but they make him work a lot more. So, not a bad pick.
Yeah.
Number 2, Detroit Lions got a B. I think when we get into Green Bay and Minnesota, I think the NFC North drafted solid, and they were probably the best division draft-wise. I understand that there's a lot of A's in the NFC South, but I think Houston really dropped down the value of that division. I thought the NFC North drafted fantastic. I'm not just saying that because I hate Houston right now, but
Yeah.
I feel like they just drafted so solid, and I think the difference between Chicago being a B plus, Detroit being a almost a B plus, Green Bay being a solid B, Minnesota being just under that solid B. I think that was just kind of they're all pretty solid right there. But anyway, Detroit B. Ben, give me your thoughts.
Well, I really like the T.J. Hawkinson pick.
Who doesn't? I can't believe they got
Yeah.
a B minus on the website for CBS. If Josh Allen would have been at 8, like we kind of talked about, absolutely you take Josh Allen. But
Yeah.
why would you pass up Hawkinson?
He- you don't really have an option at tight end. So
Jesse
I
James
don't.
was their big free agent signing.
Oh, whoop-de frickin' do. T.J. Hawkinson fits. Daryl. I've seen Daryl Bell's offense. And it's T.J. Hawkinson fits what the tight end should be under Daryl Bell.
That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, he's also going to be proficient in run blocking. That's going to help carry on Johnson.
Mhm.
Johnson, he's obviously a good pass catcher.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the T.J. Hawkinson pick.
I agree.
Hands down.
I love the Tavai pick at number 43 in the second round. He's an odd situation because he's the right size. He does a lot of things very well. I'm really concerned with the pass rushing moves, kind of limited in that situation. Obviously, being a middle linebacker, it's not a big need. He's not very good at block shedding, so getting to the ball carrier isn't his forte. He's more of that, Mike Ditka kind of. You're coming to me, come into my area. I'm gonna lock you down, and that works for what the Patriots and now what the Lions do with under Matt Patricia, because Dante Hightower played a lot of inside linebacker, and he just kind of sat there and said, "Come at me, and I will get you." So I thought that turned out really well. Amani, the corner from Penn State, they got him in the fifth round, 6'2", 205, very, very long and athletic. He's athletic, but he needs to really work on the finer points of being a corner. Um, yeah. Any of note from you on Detroit outside of the few we've talked about?
Um, let's see, Austin Bryant. He's a
Yeah.
uh,
From Clemson,
um,
yeah.
s-
Um,
so there's something I wanted to say about Austin Bryant, and I completely forgot.
he's a good again. He's a good DPR, designated pass rusher. Um, I don't think he's going to be a good cover linebacker. I don't think he's going to be the guy that if you're trying to run zone blitzing schemes, I don't think he's your guy that you're going to pick on him if he has to drop into coverage. Um, but I think they'll maximize him. I think he's kind of he's the opposite of Van Noy. Van Noy is not
Right.
he's a cover guy. He's not a pass rusher, and you kind of mask those things. So I think they're going to drop a safety down to help cover that side for Bryant. But I think he's a fantastic pickup, and they couldn't get Josh Allen, but they got somebody who's a good enough pass rusher though.
Yeah.
Number three, we talked about Green Bay. Uh, just they're a solid B. They're they're not very fringy either way. I would say they're supplanted themselves as a legitimate. This is if you take this draft 10 out of 10 times, if you could, sure, but it's not a go big, go home kind of draft though.
Yeah.
Uh, Thoughts on their picks?
Um, I really like what they did early on in the draft. Uh, I did like them getting Rashawn Gary and Darnell Savage.
You did like Rashawn Gary.
Yeah. Uh,
I did not.
that's interesting. Just knowing just looking at Mike Pettine's defense, I think versatility is important under Pettine's defense, and
Mhm.
those two guys give give a certain type of versatility in different ways.
I like Darnell Savage paired with Adrian Amos. Absolutely. Um, I think you know me. I've been a huge fan of Amos when he was with Chicago, and I
Yeah,
mean since you've known me, that's all I. Adrian Amos is that's my man. If we're talking safeties, I think he's the best safety hands down in the NFL. Um, but the Rashawn Gary pick for me, I think A was a reach at 12, and B, I think out of this draft and where people went, I think he's going to obviously Daniel Jones being picked at number 6, if he plays bad, is a bust. But if we're not talking about Daniel Jones and that stupid Gettleman pick, I think Rashawn Gary has the biggest bust potential out of the first round guys, 100%.
yeah, he's a boomer bust candidate.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think his
yeah,
boom is a lot lower than his bust potential. I mean, I think at best, maybe you're seeing Corey Redding. I don't know if you remember him.
yeah, he used to play. He played in Seattle for a
Yeah.
season.
I think that's your boom with him. But I think your bust
Wow.
is the Jawalrus Russell, the Walrus.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think it's
Uh,
that bad.
wow.
And if he would have gone to a different defense, sure, we'd be talking differently. But he went to Green Bay where they lost a lot of pieces. They lost Jake Ryan, they lost Clay Matthews, they lost Muhammad Wilkerson. You know, they're struggling right now, and they're going through a rebuild, and they don't want to spend the money to bring in people. You know, that's the Packers' way. They don't want to bring in people via free agency. They want to sign people, and that's why I think, for me at least, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm saying, get me out of here. You help me on defense. What have you done for me on offense lately? I'm constantly getting hurt, and I'm constantly not playing correctly. So do me
Well,
good. Kenny Clark's still there, but you know that they play the same position and they're doing a 3-4 again, correct?
yeah, they're playing 3-4.
Yep. So they
Uh,
play the same position, and Kenny Clark is ahead of you. Kenny Clark's fantastic.
I Kenny Clark is more of a nose tackle though. Rashawn Gary, you can move him either defensive end or outside linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, you might see Gary play on the outside, but he's also got his, he's got his injury right now on his shoulder,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at their roster, and sure, I don't see anybody else who's going to play end or edge rusher or anything, because you're looking at Muhammad Wilkerson's gone.
You don't see Zadarius Smith or Preston Brown as edge rushers.
We talked about it during free agency when we were just, kind of joking around. We both thought that was a reach for both of them coming over from, well, one of them
Yeah.
came from Baltimore. And I think they're also boomer bust kind of guys. It's one of those we don't know. And Blake Martinez hasn't panned out the way that we thought he would. Preston Smith, sure, he's got potential, but Zadarius Smith, I think he's the biggest. I think he was a big reach. He was a huge reach. They paid too much money for him, and I think they're gonna regret that in a couple of years.
All right. Um, are you are you surprised they don't go didn't really go receiver?
Yeah, they actually did not draft a receiver. They took a tight end in
Uh,
Jace Sternberger, but I think you liked him, right? Or was it Simon?
yeah,
Simon
I
liked him.
think that was more Ghost. Uh,
But yeah, surprised they don't go receiver with the lack of receivers. Looking at their roster right now, Devontae Adams, great. Geronimo Allison, bouncing between practice squad. Trevor Davis, never heard of you. Jake, not gonna even try to pronounce that. Alan Lazard, don't know you. Jamon Moore, Jamon, don't know you. Teo Redding, still don't know him. St. Brown, not even gonna try to pronounce your first name. And Marquise Valdez Scantling. I like the name, but who are you?
well, St. Brown was a rookie last season, and so was Marquez.
So
It's
this will be year
Scantling.
two for them. Teo Redding is a
Yeah,
year one guy.
yeah. Uh, yeah. The other thing I'll say that I didn't like about Green Bay's draft was they drafted my favorite offensive lineman out of that draft. And that was Elkton Jenkins.
Hmm.
Jenkins.
Mississippi State.
He played at Mississippi State. He can play both either left or right guard, but he's probably a center. Center. He's
Oh.
got yeah. He's that versatile. Um, he's got a lot of tools that'll make him a good starter in this league.
Yeah.
He's got a good anchor in terms of he can handle the bull rush really well. He can get to a second level. I'd say he's better when he gets body on body.
Hmm.
Adi.
Well,
But
yeah, and I like that about Mississippi State players. I was a big Dak Prescott fan, and I like Nick Fitzgerald, and I like a lot of what Mississippi State did, and I feel like that offensive line really set the tone for those offenses to excel. And I know Jenkins was a freshman, uh, Dak's senior year, and him and Fitzgerald really worked well together. So I think that I think you nailed the nail on the head with this one. I think he's no matter where you put him at, I think he's going to be a starter regardless.
yeah, me personally, I think he's the best pick in that Green Bay's draft.
Even Darnell
That's come.
Savage.
You're talking to an offensive lineman here, so
I like Savage. I like Savage just because of who
yeah,
he's paired with, and I think that him and Amos are going to be a great duo together, and I think they're going to feed off each other. If they can start reading each other's minds, I think that's going to be the best safety duo in the NFL.
yeah. See,
Well, speaking of offensive linemen again, we're going Minnesota Vikings this time. They got the lower grade of the Bs, but still a solid, still a B, not a B minus. Uh, Ben, they went offensive line to start with Garrett Bradbury. Do you like do you like the pick?
they've been trying to figure out offensive line for so long.
They signed
Um,
Andre Smith. They lost Andre Smith. Yeah, you're right. They bounced around a lot.
yeah, so at some point you got to get somebody that's gonna stick,
Right.
and Garrett Bradbury will probably is probably the best potential of that. Um, yeah, he's a once again centers are very underrated.
Hmm. You think they're going to put him at center?
Let me see the
They
current
have him listed
roster.
as a guard flex, but
He'll probably be guard. Because I believe Pat Elfin was their center.
okay. And you're not gonna supplant somebody who's you know put in his time and is not the worst in the world.
Ah, actually, looking at that, they could. Look, because apparently he's graded bad.
Oof. Yep. It looks like on their website they have put Garrett Bradbury as center.
Yeah,
So oof.
yeah. Never mind.
Elfin. Oh, and they got Brett Jones to back him up. Even better. Yeah. Love it. Yeah, they're gonna be moving some people around. Um.
They always have.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's the one thing I hate about the Steelers because we never really talk about their continuity that they have in the fact that they keep a lot of those guys in the same place. Like Andre, what's his name? Villanueva, um, the left tackle. He's been there for what 5 years now, and he's been the left tackle. And there's been times where you're like, oh, maybe you should move him to right tackle. They stuck with it, and it's paid off for him. So maybe take a page out of their book and give him a chance.
Yeah,
Um, I love the Irv Smith draft pick at number two, our second round pick at number 50. It allows them to finally get out of Kyle Rudolph. I have been very critical of Kyle Rudolph. I think he is a overrated, overpaid tight end. Uh, I'm not saying you're a bad person, Tyler, or Kyle, Kyle, but I I don't think you should be playing for Minnesota because Minnesota wants to do other stuff with their tight ends, and you can't do it. And I appreciate you, and I know you have a talent, but your just talent is wasted in Minnesota. Uh, I thought the three best picks that Minnesota did have came at 5, 6, and 7. That was pick 162, 190, and 217. Cameron Smith, great linebacker out of USC. A couple years ago, he was pegged to be a first round draft pick. Fell to the fifth round. He lost, or actually gained a lot of weight. He's down at 238 right now, trying to get some of his speed back. Uh, it's tough to get speed back. Talking from a guy who ran 429 and now is almost 300 pounds. It's tough to get that speed back. Armand Watts, 6'5", 300 defensive lineman. I think he's going to be pretty fantastic as a designated pass rusher. Uh, Out of Arkansas, he really lit up Alabama when they played him. Not saying much, with Jonah Williams. Um, but my favorite pick from them was Chris Boyd, 7th round, 217th pick. Smaller corner, but Minnesota has an eye for picking the smaller corner, much more athletic, knows how to get to the ball. And sure, he didn't test really well at the combine, but what they saw on tape was that he was able to track down receivers that were faster than him. He was able to keep up with them as they went, and then when he did get the ball in his hands, he was elusive himself. So I feel like that was kind of a steal. Oh, anything to add to that one, Ben?
Not really.
Yeah, I know it is one
Yeah.
of those drafts. Um, we're gonna recap really quick for that. We got Chicago Bears B plus at number one, Detroit Lions number two with the B. Uh, Also Green Bay and Minnesota. Green Bay 3, Minnesota 4, all getting a B grade. We're down to the last little bit here. And the most frustrating of them all is here. Um, my 1A and 1B uh, was Arizona and now Washington Redskins. I thought they had a amazing draft. They didn't move up when they didn't move up when they should have. They didn't move down when they should have. They stayed where they were, and then they leapfrogged into number 26 and kind of just said, "Ha ha." The the best way I explained it was in this article, and it was they couldn't find anybody to move up to number 15, and they couldn't find anybody to move down out of 15 with. They then proceeded to give the rest of the league the middle finger and have possibly the best draft class. Haskins, not for some reason, for a reason, Daniel Jones being that reason, fell to Washington. And then Rosen, taking over in Miami, helped secure Haskins dropping down. Montez Sweat, because of his heart condition, made him fall a little bit, and then Washington took advantage of Indianapolis and jumped up, took Montez Sweat. Thought that was a fantastic pick. I think he's gonna be big for them. And then Bryce Love, I thought was Bryce Love and Kelvin Harmon. Bryce Love at fourth round, 112th pick, like Ben has always keeps saying, is you can pick a good running back in the later rounds, and I think this is going to be your steal of a running back with the ACL injury. Darius Geis, I think, is going to be fantastic, but Bryce Love, I think, takes over that starting running back at some point, either this year or next year with the injury. And then Kelvin Harmon, North Carolina State, 6'2", 221. I can't believe he fell to the sixth round. Pick number 206. Solid pick at 2 or 3 in that round. We talk about possession receivers. I think this is a guy who he has a frame, he has the hand size, he has the quickness, he has a lateral movement, he has the agility to stay in his breaks and stay low. He plays low for a bigger guy, and he actually plays pretty good box out as well. I think he's a great overall receiver. He just needs to refine a lot of his stuff. And, playing at NC State with Ryan Finley did help, but he wasn't able to showcase his speed downfield because of Finley's ineffectiveness to throw downfield. Ben, anything to add to the possible best pick in the draft?
Not at all. It's more surprising to me that because it's what said Dan Snyder was involved involved in this draft. And typically, when Dan Snyder has more control in the draft, he seems to mess things up. This was not the case, and I'm kind of dumbfounded by it.
Well, I'm glad that it turned out to be so well, though. I will say, for me at
Yeah,
least, I couldn't believe it. We were watching it. We were both kind of in awe, just because we thought there was no way Haskins fell to 15, and then we thought there was no way Sweat fell to 26, and then they both did, and we kind of sat there and were like, "Holy crap! Holy crap!"
yeah.
Now, number 2 in the NFC East would be the Philadelphia Eagles, getting a B plus, and Ben has a lot to say about this one.
So what I wrote here, what I pretty much wrote was my favorite part of the Phillies draft is when they traded up to get Andre Dillard and screwed Houston out of having a fan.
I really do think that if Dillard would have been their pick at 23, or if they would have moved up to 21 to get him, I
Yeah,
I feel like I would still be a Houston fan because I love Dillard that much.
yeah. Andre Dillard was probably the best tackle in the draft. He's
He's
out of
got the most
Washington State.
upside. He's got the most
Yeah,
upside.
yeah. He can play left or right tackle, but in Philly he's probably gonna be a left tackle. And the good news is depending on how healthy Jason Peters is you don't necessarily have to start him right away.
Well, yeah, and you can put him at
Hey,
left guard as he grows.
yeah. Uh, knock on him. Knock on him. He didn't really play in a. He played in an air raid, so he didn't run the ball a whole lot. And that's not gonna. I don't think that's gonna be a knock because the Eagles pass the ball.
Right, and well,
Oh,
the other issue is, we talked about it many times before, and even in the mock draft, was one of the harder things to learn is actually pass blocking because you have multiple avenues on where people are running at. Whereas, especially with the zone read of the offense for Doug Peterson and what the Philadelphia Eagles do, you aren't really reading anything. You're reading a gap, and that's it. And if that's not there, you're just going up into the second layer of the defense and trying to knock somebody on their ass. And so,
yeah,
pass blocking is much harder in that type of scheme than run blocking. So you're right. I don't think that's going to be a hamper on him at all.
yeah. And and I know they got Jordan Howard. Howard from the trade from Chicago.
Hmm.
Oh, but I also like them trading to get Miles Sanders. Not trade, just picking Miles Sanders in the second round.
Right.
Uh, Darren Sproles is not there. I'm not saying he's going to be Darren Sproles, but uh,
He's
yeah,
definitely I hate hearing the 1 year wonder with running backs because here's the thing: Adrian Peterson had Miles coming in uh, to the draft when he came out and he had some injuries. You have guys like Trent Richardson had a lot of miles and look at what happened to him.
yeah,
Saquon oddly didn't have too many miles on his legs, and Miles Sanders. I know you had a different take on him, but I thought he's a lot like Saquon, not not the same in every way, but I think he has a lot of the same traits where he's kind of patient
yeah.
with how he runs, but low miles. And I know you had a fun take on Miles as well.
You got to remind me what I said.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was about him stopping and going, and then he
Oh,
doesn't.
so yeah, it was from on NFL.com. They had a running backs coach from the AFC team says like he sees it well, but it looks like he's imitating Saquon Barkley with all the stop start stuff he does. He doesn't have Saquon's go-go juice, so he needs to be careful with all that stuff. Just trust your eyes and go. That's what I would tell him.
And I think once he gets into the NFL and you have Doug Peterson there, and you have Jordan Howard, you have guys like oh gosh, who else did they pick up? Jordan Howard, and they have another running back. Oh, Eagles, why do you do this to me? Uh, golly, I'm totally spacing out on who it is. Oh man.
I mean, there's. I mean, there's already Corey Clement on the roster.
This is killing me. I should know. It's getting late. That's why my brain
Yeah.
is gone. Man. Golly, I can't even think anymore. And I'm looking at their website and I can't even. It'll come to me.
Well,
It'll come to me. Go
well,
ahead.
as you say that, I like that they also picked JJ Arcega Whiteside,
Hmm.
and the Stanford receiver. Was was that Alshon? Was he gives him another option for a jump ball target?
Alshon Jeffrey.
Was Alshon Jeffrey,
Hmm.
and I think those two who also will help Deshaun Jackson and Nelson Aguilar as well.
I agree. And you have Deshaun Jackson who's gonna, open up the top with his speed as well.
Yeah.
Man, now I can't even think of it. Totally spacing out on this. I'm sorry, guys. My bad. I do like Clayton Thorson from Northwestern. Thought he was a good quarterback. Had a very good 2016 year stat wise. Um, couldn't really replicate those numbers. 17 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. That seems really high. But he's playing at Northwestern. You're not going to get the most consistency out of a player because one week you're playing Morehead State, next week you're playing Ohio State, and the pressure is different from those teams. And it's not just because of talent; it's because of scheming. It's because of, the defense that they're throwing at you. And yes, the talent does have. Nick Bosa is much better than some guy that's playing up. I'm sorry, Morehead State. I'm not trying to throw you on blast. It's just what I could think of. But Nick Bosa is just better than what you're going to be going up against there. And I don't think you can give him a fair assessment that way. I think you have to look at the arm talent. I think you have to look at his decision making. And I feel like a lot of those interceptions over the last 2 years had to come with just running for your life and being scared to death of getting killed by guys like Nick Bosa. But
Right.
I thought Philly kind of knocked it out of the park as well. That's a good fit for a fifth round draft pick, and he might have the longest career if he stays in Philadelphia with Peterson. We're gonna go ahead and move on. We got two drafts left. Dallas Cowboys got a B minus. I know we kind of talked a little bit about it. Neither of us are big Cowgirl fans, but they did pretty solid, I'd say.
Yeah. Uh, they addressed a couple needs, I guess. Again, Tristan Hill. Hill is he said they got lucky with that because of certain circumstances, like Nate Irvin deciding to quit on the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, and then he's a Central Florida guy, so he's not from a big school, and I know the whole like we should have won the national championships, give us our participation trophy. Rawr. They did a great job. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they did a bad job, but they weren't the national champions. We all know that. Um, but Nate Irvin was a special type of player, and I think this Tristan Hill can fit that special type of player. Uh, and for some reason he fell to pick 58. Uh, he's not obviously he's not Quinnen Williams, and that's not what they were wanting to get. They want a guy who is has enough length but has enough muscle and build on him to force his way into the backfield, but also disengage, and he disengages very well for a very big guy. I
Right.
think the reason why he fell was because he had a lot of off the field issues. I think that's why he fell from a first round pick to definitely a second rounder.
Right. No, interesting to me that they picked Connor McGovern in the third round. They draft a year ago. They drafted Connor Williams.
Hmm. In the first round, didn't they?
I was in the second.
Hmm.
Second, so it makes you wonder if they're not confident in Connor Williams.
I think they're worried about Frederick coming back, and I think they're worried about what's the gentleman that came from LSU who refused to get drafted and then signed with the
La'el
Cowgirls.
Collins.
Yeah, I think they're worried about him off the field because that was his
Right.
big knock too, was off the field stuff coming into the draft, and I think he's not doing the best because he regressed a lot last year.
Yeah.
I did like the Michael Jackson pick. I even put in our deal the hee hee. Thought that was a great little ode to MJ, but I thought he did. I think he's going to be a fantastic corner for the Cowboys. I think they're far from the days of drafting Mo Claiborne in the first round. I think he's a good pick at 5. If Mo Claiborne would have been a pick at 5, I thought we would have been talking about a completely different person. Um, Joe Jackson, good pick for Miami as well. A lot of Miami players getting picked here. Um, Definitely, he's a guy who will help the edge rushers, and he's going to help keep a lot of running backs getting past and into that second line of defense. Um, but I think the best pick outside of Tristan Hill, best pick for me was Mike Weber. He is he does everything that Ezekiel Elliott does, just not as good. They're the exact same type of runner. He was actually the backup for Elliott at Ohio State. Um, he's got size. He's got speed. He's got the balance to run the power. He catches the ball great out of the backfield. He's just not Zeke. And I think getting him in the 7th round was a huge steal, which made the Tony Pollard pick very, very questionable.
Yeah.
And then our very last one, they actually, Gettleman, you sir, are one in a million. Uh, the New York Football Giants got a D minus. It was a very hard fought discussion with us between the Giants and the Texans getting the worst draft. I think that the Giants actually had some good value in some of their picks, whereas Houston didn't get theirs till the late rounds. But ultimately, we decided to go with the Giants as the worst draft in 2019, but it was the only unanimous decision out of all of these. We're talking grades, position-wise, everything. The only unanimous decision was the worst pick in the draft, and that was number 6, Daniel Jones. Ben, take over with your inner Gettleman mentality.
I called it.
You absolutely did, more than once.
Yeah. Yeah. He was Daniel Jones was their number one quarterback on their board, and I don't understand why. But listening to Dave Gettleman's press conference after the draft, after they asked him why they didn't go for like a guy like Josh Allen, uh, and he was saying he was afraid that he was going to be gone before 17. And I think that was, like I said earlier, is a bunch of balderdash. Uh,
Well, okay. Well, let's look at it.
yeah,
Pick number 7. Not gonna be. I don't know why my phone just did what it did. Pick. Hush your mouth, you whore. Pick number 7. Obviously, Jacksonville is either going Hawkinson or they're going uh, Josh Allen at that point. If you don't take either
yeah.
one of those, they're taking the other one. Detroit doesn't need a quarterback. Buffalo doesn't need a quarterback. Pittsburgh doesn't need. Well, at that time it was Denver. Denver didn't even like Daniel Jones. They would have made. I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if Daniel Jones is on the board, they still make the same trade for Devin Bush.
And and,
Um,
and the thing was, Denver was they weren't planning on drafting Locke at 10.
no, that was if
One of the
it,
Denver beat writers that I saw on Twitter, I forget his name, but he said they weren't planning on getting them at 10. If they were thought about trading up in the first round, it would have been late in the first round.
right, and that would have been if there was a run on quarterbacks at the time. Um, you look at the Bengals; they needed Jonah Williams more than they need Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
Green Bay, yeah, let's replace Aaron Rodgers with Daniel Jones. Great pick. Miami shored up Josh Rosen before the draft even started, so no quarterback pick for them. Atlanta, nope, they don't need a quarterback. Washington, it keeps being said, and I want to remind people that um, Snyder has known Dwayne Haskins since high school. He has been a Redskins fan since high school. And who are they going to pick? Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins? They're picking Haskins. Doesn't matter if Jones is on the board or not. I truly believe if Kyler Murray was still on the board, they would have gone Haskins. I 100% believe that. And then Carolina, they needed help on the edge. They're not picking Haskins. They're not picking Murray. They're not they're not picking Daniel Jones. So why on earth would you pick Daniel Jones at number 6? Why would you pick him at number 17?
yeah,
I, I get it. If there's a run at the end of the draft, into the first round, you get to 27, and then all of a sudden, boom, quarterback gets taken. 28, somebody trades up, quarterback's taken. Sure, trade to 29 and pick Daniel Jones. That makes sense, but not number 6.
yeah, absolutely. It the only pick I don't know, but like the pick that I did not hate was Dexter Lawrence because I like Dexter Lawrence.
Right.
Um,
He's a good player.
yeah, uh, but then they traded with Seattle so they go back up and they pick DeAndre Baker. I knew you. I remember you had a weird a weird reaction about DeAndre Baker.
Oh, DeAndre Baker. Let me get back into my draft. I'm going on to their team site here.
Yeah,
Let me pull it back up though. Oh, Baker. That's right. Uh,
yeah,
so at this time, cornerback wise, we're looking at players being taken. And don't get me wrong, I like Baker. I'm not saying he's a bad corner. I actually had the Raiders taking him at 24 earlier in our mock draft, but I hate the pick. I absolutely hate this pick because there is not a single corner taken off of this draft board yet. And sure, Darnell Savage, you can call him a corner. He's a hybrid guy, but I like Byron Murphy a lot more for what the Giants want to do. You're essentially getting a better corner who can actually tackle. Uh, in Byron Murphy. Whereas I watched a lot of, again, I was a big University of Georgia fan, and I watched Baker, but uh, he falls flat for me, and you know it it boggles my mind that was the pick, because you essentially screwed yourself over by trading away to get number 30 for somebody who you could have got at the end of the second round. So,
Well,
rawr. So now I'm looking at the corners that you have here. Janoris Jenkins, fantastic corner towards the end of his career, but you don't have any other corners on your team. Nothing of note, at least. And you could have got 2 solid corners in the second round for what you gave up to get number 30. Not worth it. Nope. Don't care. Not worth it.
thank you, Giants.
Yep, you made our decision that easy when it comes to, because to be honest with you, if I wasn't a Texans fan, I would have easily said it was the Giants that had the worst draft. But I'm a Texans fan, and that's how we are. We were fanatics about our teams, and I was furious. But yes, you hands down had the worst draft. I'm not seeing a single pick that I like out of any of it.
Yeah.
They didn't get a linebacker till round 5, and they didn't even get a good linebacker.
And they didn't even address defensive end.
They got Chris Slayton, round 7, pick 245, defensive lineman, and Dexter Lawrence, who's a nose tackle.
He's a nose tackle.
And Slayton seems to be a D tackle as well.
Yeah, he didn't.
Let's see here. You got Darius Slayton, the wide receiver, who's 6'1", pretty fast, but I don't think he's going to make the roster. That's a wide receiver there that they have to replace Odell Beckham with. And they picked another receiver. Nope, just that one. Yay. I do like Zymes, I don't know how to say his name, O'Shane from Old Dominion. I thought he's pretty solid. Good spot at number 3 or third round, number 95. Thought he was a good steal there, but you don't take him in round 3 if you take Josh Allen at pick number 6. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's going to do it for our summary. Went a little bit longer than we hoped for,
Yeah.
but yeah, a lot longer. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call this one good, guys. We want to say thank you again for joining us, Ben. Got anything to add?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, appreciate everybody who listens. Well, it's been a great night with everybody. It is now a little bit past midnight. We're gonna be catching up with you guys soon. We got Raw and SmackDown coming up, and we're starting Ben's journey tomorrow on becoming a DDP yoga instructor. We want to say thank you from all of us here at the Jobbers, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for your support on Patreon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter using the links on our website. See you next time, Jobbers.